We can all rise for the pledge, please. Hillary, can you lead us to the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, those brave men and women fighting the fight in the Ukraine, and for Councilman Joe Fala's mother who passed last week. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Can you identify who's on the phone, please?
It's Mary Jane.
Thomas Brazito.
Mike Nahom.
Okay.
Mary Jane.
Gotcha.
All right. Sal?
Mr. Mayor, we have a participant, Mr. John Batista.
Mayor, Town Council members, and Council East of 88 Chuniski Road. I'm here to speak to you tonight because the Chuniski Road Bridge is on the agenda for consideration. So I want to share with you something that's surprising that's happened in the last few weeks as I've been walking the road, which is itself kind of surprising. I've met a number of my neighbors. My neighbors have said to me, you know, I hope the bridge never opens, or I'd be happy if it never opens. And you know, when I thought about it, I wasn't that surprised. Because what's happened is that, first of all, people are walking the road, which they never used to do because there was so much traffic and everything else. But also, because it's become a much more friendly place. So that when I go up the road now, people know who I am and they wave at me and people drive slow and everything else. Even though Chuniski Road, before the bridge was open, which was a one-lane bridge, as you all know by now, had a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. I never once heard of a speeding ticket being given on Chuniski Road, ever. I never heard of a two-car accident on Chuniski Road. I did witness multiple people speeding voraciously, including police officers who would zoom down the road at 50 miles an hour or more, not because they were on call, just because they did, just because everybody else on Chuniski Road was doing that. And the result of that was, of course, that myself and my neighbors, we never walked on Chuniski Road anymore. I used to in the old days. I used to run up Chuniski Road and out into the wetlands. Now, the only place that we ever met my neighbors was on Tangay Road, which is at the top of the wetlands above, kind of parallel to Chuniski Road, and runs down until it narrows down to Chuniski Road, where the bridge used to be, or still is, but it's closed. And we used to walk there because it was quiet, and there weren't any trucks, and there wasn't anything else. So I think it's remarkable. And don't forget that before the bridge was closed, it was a one-lane bridge. It wasn't a two-lane bridge. And what we suffered from was that traffic was diverted off 202 onto Chuniski Road indirectly, and it was considered a minor artery by the state, and there was a lot of traffic and a lot of trucks, a lot of through trucks. We tried to get through trucks, not to be allowed, but that was not agreed to by the state because it was a through road. So if by any chance it ever became a two-lane bridge, and the only thing that was stopping it was the one-lane bridge, and I think everybody, even though they want to maybe see the bridge remain closed, or would be happy if it did, they'd be happy to have a one-lane bridge again and have stop signs at the end and have speeding enforced. I think that's for sure. But if it became a two-lane bridge, then I think we should rename it Chuniski Highway. And I want to remind you, because it would be a highway, I guarantee you, and It used to be the old King's Highway went through Chudisky Road. The old King's Highway went from Boston to Albany. And it crossed the West Fork of the Aspetuck, actually on my property. On my property is the place where the road crossed. And of course, in that day, it was horse and buggy. It wasn't cars and trucks. But if we alter it, it will be a different kind of highway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin Russo.
Good evening, everybody. Martin Russo, 39 Miss Hill Drive, speaking in favor of the Green Wave movement. And since we couldn't really speak or answer any questions last meeting about the initiative, the Farmer and Farmland program, I'd just like to take this time to offer some of my thoughts on transpired, because I think a lot of it, and I think most of you kind of missed the true meaning and purpose of what we were speaking about. So first of all, I think the name of the initiative is somewhat misleading in and of itself, because its purpose is to actually help the community collectively. Although it is to help our farmers with education and aiding conventional farmers make the transition to organic and regenerative practices, I think its main goal is to improve the quality and duration of life for every individual, young and old, in the town of New Milford. So calling it the Farmer and Farmland Assistance Program is somewhat misrepresentative. There was also much emphasis put on performing a needs assessment. But most of you are saying that we need to talk to the farmers to see what their needs are. So again, I think you kind of missed the boat on this one. I believe you really should be doing a needs assessment on the community, because that's what and who this is really all about. So, you know, I could break it down in a nutshell and make things real simple, because it was also stated how complex this subject is. So the needs assessment in a simple sentence is: we need clean water, free of toxins, combined with organic, nutrient-dense food free from chemicals, and fresh air to breathe, so we can all live full and healthy lives, period. That's what we need. Because if you talk to the farmers of this town, who are mostly conventional in their practices, I think you'll get mostly conventional answers from them. I heard someone say there's hundreds of organic farms in this town, which is false. There's a handful at best, compared to roughly a dozen conventional farms. And when measured in land mass alone, they dwarf the organic farms. It was stated local farmers just reported 2 great years. Well, that depends on how you measure great, right? Are you measuring strictly yields or the quality and the integrity of the produce? Because great isn't always measured in numbers and profits. It was stated that this is the farmer's land and we can't tell them how to farm. This may be true to an extent, but in this COVID era we now live in, we have seen time and time again how individual rights and freedoms have been taken away to serve the greater good of all, have we not? So why is it any different for a farmer who dumps chemicals and toxins into the soil that leach into the ground and wash away into the rivers and streams, contaminating the water we drink, causing us harm, or spraying their crops with the same toxins, drifting onto other people's land, causing them to become ill with all kinds of diseases, including cancers, and then sell the public their produce loaded with chemicals, you know, with glyphosate, and which my wife spoke about a couple meetings ago, which has been proven to be one of the root causes of why Americans are so sick. So why aren't they held accountable? Why don't they have to conform to the greater good? I believe every farmer has a moral and ethical obligation to grow the healthiest food they can. So, and please, this is not an attack on a conventional farmer. So anyone here or listening, that's really not my intent. I realize that this is how they were taught and what they know to be true, because that's how the system was sold by Big Ag. And most farmers across the country were sold this false reality. But the system is now broken and obviously not working. And we want to educate those willing and help them make the transition to organic, non-GMO farming and regenerative agriculture. I also don't believe this money should be made available to every farmer if they plan on using it to continue conventional farming practices, destroying soil, water, air quality, and growing toxic food. If so, those are the farmers who can apply for the many grants offered by the state that you also spoke of. We should provide incentives and assistance once they decide they want to make the conversion to be an organic regenerative farmer. It was also stated that we had to be prudent with the money, with the ARPA money, because of factors like inflation. So was it prudent to spend almost $10,000 on a disc golf course? And
So I
over
got 30 seconds.
$23,000 on an outdoor movie theater? I don't understand how this is COVID relief money. And now we're hesitant to spend $150,000 to improve the lives of our residents and heal our environment. Finally, it was said many times that we need to bring in the experts on this. And again, you need to open your eyes, because the experts are right here in front of you, and we've been here the whole time. I do consider myself an expert. I'm a licensed paramedic and hold certifications in plant-based nutrition. My wife and I have been living and studying this for almost a decade. My wife, Ashley, is a licensed nurse, a functional nutrition counselor, and a lifestyle medicine coach. She's the most intelligent and informed person I know on this subject.
Your time is up, sir.
Joe has been studying and practicing regenerative art for decades and is a wealth of knowledge. Certainly, bring in Mary Jane's daughter, who's the Director of Organic and Sustainable Agriculture for Stonyfield Farm, and I'm
Your
sure
time is up,
she's going to tell you the same thing.
This is not a speech.
So
Mr. Russo, your time is up, sir.
I just want to add, I just want to just close with two of my favorite quotes, and the first is, be the change you want to see in the world, and that's Gandhi. And the second is, you don't always have to see the whole staircase. You just got to take the next step, and that was stated by Martin Luther King Jr. So approving and supporting this initiative is the next step. So please, let's just do it.
Tell this to Ukraine. Anyway. Miss Ashley Russo. And you together, right?
Okay. Ashley Russo, 39 Mistill Drive. I put together a slideshow, so hopefully I don't get teary this time.
Your address, Ashley, again? I know what it is.
39 Mistill Drive. This is low. Is this low? No? Maybe? I can make it back. Okay.
This is fine. Go.
Okay. So this is a slideshow for the True Green Wave movement, otherwise known as the Farmer and Farmland Assistance. So what we're talking about here is not just about what's happening in town. This is about a global crisis that's happening now all around us outside of this town. And we need to take action for the future starting now. Regenerative agriculture shifts the paradigm between what we see on the left and what we see on the right. On the left, we compete with nature. On the right, we partner with nature. We disturb the soil as opposed to protecting the soil. We have a monoculture system as opposed to a diverse system. We have a reductionist viewpoint in conventional farming as opposed to a holistic one. So these are statements gleaned from the Plan of Conservation and Development report, which was unanimously voted on and adopted by this town council, as well as the Planning Commission, which I have the minutes here from their meeting from August 23rd, 2001, which they approved. The intention of this plan is to guide the enhancement of New Milford's quality of life by addressing important community issues such as housing, farming, water quality, cultural resources, transportation, economic development, sustainability, open space preservation, environmental protection, and services for vulnerable residents. The COVID-19 pandemic reminds us that there is a need to respond at a local level rapidly due to changing conditions. It has reaffirmed the need for our community to respond to changes in demand for housing, community services, and guess what? Sustainable food supply. So let's see what the headlines say. As of 3 days ago, Biden confirms food shortages are coming to America. Confirms. So, right out of the Plan of Conservation and Development on page 38, they have highlighted a food security and food planning system, like it's right here. The recent pandemic highlighted the importance of food security and the need to ensure that there is ample farmland and food production for the town's population should there be a future food shortage. The town should undertake a comprehensive analysis of the food production capability of the town's existing and unused farmland. That comprehensive analysis should include how the large populace can be supported if all existing and unused farmland were put into full production. Imagine what that would look like. other lands and opportunities for food production through greenhouse, aquaculture, and other means, promoting and establishing victory gardens throughout town, and ensuring adequate seed supply for multiple years of production. So let's talk about soil right off page 37. Identifying and conserving farmland soils is paramount to preserving farmland and the future of farming in New Milford, which directly correlates to the health and longevity of our town. Productive farmland soils take years to create, but they can be destroyed very quickly. Important farms and farmland soils are at risk in New Milford. And again, this is right off the packet. So we talked a little bit last week. I know that one of the concerns is, where is this money going to go? And we gave you some examples. So examples of equipment and infrastructure would be a no-till drill. You can go online and look. There are about 9,000, anywhere from 9,000 to 30,000 used. The top reasons for using a no-till drill would be to preserve soil, improving soil structure, plant life, and human health. Increase profit and efficiency by reducing fuel, equipment, and labor costs. Reducing erosion and the compaction of soil, sequestering carbon from the atmosphere, and retaining and conserving water. Here's beautiful pictures of that. Where would you want your food grown? Sequestering carbon and water on the left, or the tilling and how we generally do practices on the right. Here's another example of agriculture infrastructure that we would be able to implement with these funds.
We really look at our system as harnessing nature. We could put really good soil in a sock. You can throw them in your trunk, you can throw them in your car, in your pickup. They could go onto your balcony, they can go onto your patio, they can go on the roof. 70% less water, 2.5 times faster growth, superior nutrient-dense food, 50% less fertilizer, and over land that nobody's used. It's also nice that it's the lowest cost system out there, bar none. People without any growing
30
experience
seconds
at all,
left.
never
How long
grown
does it
plants,
go?
never cut a plant, never planted seed, have been successful using the garden stocks. So I think it's going to change the world.
Stop, go. Cover crops would be another important infrastructure to improve farming systems, and it also says it would also fall under the strategies to protect surface and groundwater quality found on page 36. Top reasons for cover crops would be to reduce the need for fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. These have unintended consequences of polluting surface and groundwater supplies. The chemicals in these products can produce unhealthy nutrient and contaminate loads in the town's water system, found on page 36. Cover crops improve crop yields and enhance soil health. They prevent soil erosion and conserve soil moisture.
Your time is up.
How do we handle that?
Someone else can continue. You've signed up.
Can I afford to give her my time?
Of course.
Okay.
So I'd like to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Prevent soil erosion and conserve soil moisture. Soil stores water, which makes it available for root uptake, plant growth, and soil habitat, again, found on page 36. Page 36 is brilliant. Protect water quality. Water moves through the soil and is cleaned physically, chemically, and biologically. And it helps safeguard personal health, because again, healthy soil makes for healthy humans, makes for a healthy community. So here's an example of cover crops. It's a little blurry, sorry. You have CO2 and water leaving on the left, which is creating global warming as we know it, and then we have it being sequestered on the right. Where would you want your food grown? Farmers face significant challenges to retain economic viability, and the Farmland Committee has made economic viability a key component of this mission. Capital for farm improvements and structures, available labor, and market for products are all needed to maintain working farms. Many farmers are exploring creative new farm-related business activities. The community and zoning regulations are supporting farmers in these new ventures, I hope. So we have some examples would be micro-farming, urban-style farming, and permaculture farming. And this is the last slide. Is this important to our community? The Plan of Conservation and Development report says in their needs study, co-chaired by Nick Powder, who sat on the committee, and he also sits on the Farmland and Forest Preservation Committee, and he's a very sizable farmer in town, right? Reported that 68% strongly agree that water quality and protection definitely need to be addressed. 61% rate the loss of farmland and or rural character as of the highest concern, and 56% agreed that the town needs to focus on protecting farmland and or core farm forests from development. Amen to that. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. or Mr. Solani? There we go, apologies.
Good evening. My name is Jamila Solario. I am a graduated medical doctor and I teach physical science, biology, chemistry, and anatomy and physiology at Faith Preparatory. My address is 3 Morrissey Lane. And I support the farmer and farmland assistance. So, as we have all learned in the past 2 years, COVID has been affecting all of us in multiple ways, not only in health, but in our food supplies. Some of the biggest effects on people that COVID has had on people are their comorbidities. How can we fix this? We can fix this by healing our people. That is the simple solution. And not only will this help us against illnesses, but if we have healthy people, we have a healthy community, which means that we have people going to work. We have a society that is thriving and that is able to maintain a healthy work balance to be able to continue growing as a society. As Ashley mentioned, we hear from our president, shortages, shortages, shortages. If you visit the grocery stores, you see those shortages, which makes a good majority of the population in our community wonder, what can we do as a community to help with these shortages? This farmer and farmland assistance will help in this situation. We can grow our food. It is trying to introduce educational programs to help the simple people of the community grow within their own backyards, to learn more with the local farmers, to go to their local farms, and we rely less on what we're importing. New Milford is one of the best areas to use and grow fruits and vegetables. We have so much land. Why not use it? I lived abroad for many years, and it was a third world country, and what that taught me, living in that third world country, was that they were in that position because of the lack of education that they had as a community. Do we want to end up in that position? I hope not. This proposal talks about educational program for New Milford residents, for farmers, for young adults, for students. It talks about promoting regenerative farming, which means no GMOs, no genetically modified organisms going into our bodies. And just a quick summary of genetically modified organisms. We've all had corn. They spray corn with certain pesticides so that the insect basically bursts from its gut or its intestines outward. And then we wonder why, as a community, we have so many issues with our gastrointestinal tracts, with our guts. We've all heard the saying, you are what you eat. 70% of our immune system is located in our gut. You are what you eat. So a few examples. My family has struggled with GI issues, with gut-related issues. My mom, my grandmother, my sister, and now my niece. And we've realized that what we have to do is that we have to feed our bodies what we want to be able to produce. We've cut out multiple things. We've gone to organic. We've done our research. And we've been able to heal ourselves from the inside out, and that's what we should do as a community. In that third world country that I lived in, I would visit local markets where they would have locally grown fruits and vegetables, where they fed the animals the locally grown fruits and vegetables, right? So we have organic fruits and vegetables, healthy, dense in nutrients fruits and vegetables that we're not only feeding to ourselves and our families, but the animals and the protein that we're also introducing to our bodies. And from that locally grown market in that third world country, I realized that the problem was the food. We have a choice as a community. We can either rely on someone else to feed us, or we can use the amount of land that we have been provided to grow our own food.
You got 30 seconds left.
To avoid that shortage, to be able to produce and educate and invest a biologically grown food to provide food stability, which as President Biden has said many times, we are going to be short of. That's really all I had to say. I hope you guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Mike Anastas.
Hello, I'm Mike Anastas. I live on Lake Point Drive in New Milford. And what I wanted to say was that I support the idea of educating our young students and adults and farmers in better ways to raise crops. I watched as you declined to approve this request, saying more work, more study is needed, and deferred it to committee. Well, the committee work has already been done. A needs assessment has already been published. So I hope that you approve it tonight rather than kicking it around and deferring it. Thank you for letting us speak.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. I don't have anybody else.
All right. Next is the proclamation. And as we've been focused on our pollinators, we're becoming a bee city. With that in mind, we're also going to do a Monarch Pledge Day. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imagination of millions of Americans. And whereas both the western and eastern monarch populations have seen significant declines, with less than 1% of the western monarch population remaining, while the eastern population has fallen by as much as 90%. And whereas the town of New Milford recognizes that human health ultimately depends on well-functioning ecosystems and biodiverse regions that can better support food production. Healthy soil, air quality can foster healthy connections between humans and wildlife. And whereas cities, towns, and counties have a critical role to play to help save the monarch butterfly, and the town of New Milford is striving to become a leader. And whereas on March 28th, 2022, I, Pete Bass, Mayor of the town of New Milford, signed the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge and have officially committed to taking meaningful action to protect the monarch butterfly. And whereas every resident of the town of New Milford can make a difference for the monarch by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide a habitat for the monarch and pollinators in locations where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. Now therefore I, Pete Bass, Mayor of the town of New Milford, do hereby proclaim March 28th, 22 as Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day. Next is the consent agenda. Did everybody get a chance to read the prior minutes? Yep.
I didn't because it didn't put your name. What's your name? That's not a name.
All right, well, I'll announce it when I get up there.
No, you're not getting out there because you didn't give us a name. What's your name?
Organization name, Alexa.
What is your name?
Am I gonna go up there?
I'm John Travolta. How's that for Jim? Do you want to have a discussion about this?
I thought you were Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I look like two.
I'm Healthcare Organics, Alexa Larson, zero.
My title's a phone.
Hang on.
Cut it out. Cut it out.
Hang on. What, you need a name or an address?
Alexa Larson is my name.
Address.
Okay. 24 Main Street,
That's not your address.
36 Main Street.
How about 55?
She shouldn't be allowed to speak. She's not a New Milford resident.
Cut it off.
Yes, I am. Zero
What's your
cost.
address?
Cut it off.
I have told you already that I am a mobile homesteader, zero cost, zero waste, and that I work with different, I work in healthcare with different people whose addresses I can't disclose. And I'm in all the different towns, but I'm in New Milford too. And I've been in New Milford, I've worked with PFAS. Sustainable DIY, urban organic specialist.
Here comes the town hall.
Mobile homesteader, history nut, and
Get it from Randy.
Uniting the
His
three
opinion.
Western Connecticut for us. I've also applied for the Sustainable Grant and for Native American techniques that go along with
Randy sets the
soil
cover up.
purification.
Doesn't have an address.
Okay.
And the Pettibone
It's cut off?
Independence Garden. that's-
Your time is up.
that's
Your time is up.
How much time do we get?
Can you
Zero.
cut,
For you, zero.
Mike,
How's that?
Snello, can you cut the mic?
How much time do we get?
You
Randy?
didn't sign a name and address.
I don't have to give you that.
Yes, you
can
do.
announce it.
Yes,
You have my name, you have
Yes.
to give me the same thing.
I don't. But, all right, if you're
Yes,
going
you
to...
do.
You need it
Cut it
now?
up,
Yeah,
cut it
like
up.
this
It's
all.
enough of this. Enough of this mayhem. We got
How
enough
much
of this.
time do we get?
You have 0 time.
No,
Public,
average time.
It's
public is
zero.
over.
Z-E-R-O. That's how it's called.
Public is over.
Just give her the real answer,
No,
right?
no.
Yeah,
We have
she
rules.
answered
We have
how much
rules. We
time.
have rules. You have my
Okay, well,
name.
how much time?
You have my name. This is my
So
name.
when, yeah.
I live at 6 Winter Night Drive. What is your name and address?
Sal, I can't even pronounce that.
Exactly.
I told you my name 50 times.
Got it.
You don't listen.
Public participation is over, I think is what I was trying to say.
Yes.
He didn't call my, they didn't call my organization, and other people got to use their organizations.
Got it.
You're
Well, they
always
did.
discriminating.
Got it.
And I don't want to be trafficked, and I have to report that. So how much time do people generally get?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Five. 5 minutes.
Let's not. What's your name?
Okay.
No, you're like a drunk person that's. I'm not disrupting the meeting.
Yes, you
Okay.
Should we reach out?
Right.
to the
So,
After computer works, and nobody wants to.
okay. So for those that are watching this evening,
No, I'm never speaking to you.
the person that is talking right now did not properly fill out the correct name and address for public participation. Public participation was ended. The name wasn't correctly on there, so we've asked that they stop, and we're going to move on to the next portion of the meeting. What's that?
Let's move on.
Consent
Okay.
agenda?
Next is the consent agenda. We have the council minutes for February 28th and March 14th. Any discussion on the town council meeting minutes for the 28th or March 14th?
There's no motion or anything on the floor yet.
I'll make
Yep.
a motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Wait, excuse me. Sorry.
That's okay.
The discussion after the motion gets, I thought you were asking for discussion, and then I'm a little confused. Motion goes on to
Are
the
we on the
table,
consent agenda?
and then discussion, and then we vote? Okay. I thought
Is there-
Hillary had something to say, that's why.
Okay.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, no, I'm prepared to accept the minutes of the last meeting. I think that there was a conversation happening before that just, I don't think there are enough members here right now to have the conversation, but I would like to have it in the future
Next
about how
meeting?
minutes are done.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think now's not the time, but I just wanted to put that out there, but yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Next is tax collector. There are no agenda. There's no refunds. Park and Rec. The department is requesting permission to accept a donation from Schomer and Company, a piano from Mr. and Miss Ron Arden of 54 Kennewood Lake Road. The piano will be used for recreational programs and community events at Pettibone.
So moved?
Okay. All those in favor?
Is there-
Or any discussion?
Second.
Any discussion on this
It's
one?
already on the floor.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? And we'll send a letter, as we will with all these, thanking Mr. Arden and his wife for that wonderful donation. Parks and Rec Commission requests permission to accept a donation of a check of $75 from Union Savings Bank to supply the run for the Easter egg hunt on April 9th. A donation in a check of amount of $75 from O&G for supplies to run the Easter egg hunt on April 9th. A donation in a check of amount of $75 from the Milford Septic for supplies for the Easter egg hunt. Donation of a check in the amount of $75 again for supplies from O&G to the Easter egg hunt on April 9th. Donation of $75 from Savings Bank of Danbury for the Easter egg hunt. Donation of $75 from Meadowbrook Gardens for the Easter egg hunt. Donation of $200 from Mulvaney Mechanical for the Easter egg hunt. Donation of 5 gift cards to Nordica Toys in the amount of $10 each from H&R Block to give out as prizes for the Easter egg hunt. Donation of 2 gift cards to Tasty Ways in the amount of $10 each from Nutmeg Oil to give out as prizes for the Easter egg hunt on April 9th. Donation of 2 gift cards to Tasty Waves in the amount of $10 each from Swank on Bank to give out as prizes for our Easter egg hunt. Donation of a $10 gift card to the Savory Collective in the amount of $10 from the Savory Collective, and that'll be as a prize for the Easter egg hunt. Donation of a private rental movie package, $150 value from Bank Street Theater as a prize for the Easter egg hunt. And in the Milford Park and Rec Commission, we'd like to thank all the donors for their generosity.
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
And I
Okay.
would just like to recognize the appreciation for all those businesses. Not only that, but I
Absolutely.
think there's a lot of work done by Parks and Rec to get all that done. So great job
Absolutely.
by everybody.
Next is the New Milford Park and is the New Milford Youth Agency, and we have our Student Advisory Board leadership to give us kind of a summary.
Hi, everyone.
For this
I'm
month.
Kathy Jackson.
Hey, Kathy.
I'm from the New Milford Youth Agency, and I'm here with our leadership team.
Hello again. I'm Sarah Marcos. I'm a student
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. I'm a student at New Milford High School, and I'm here on behalf of the New Milford Youth Agency. And I would like to take our time to talk about vaping in young adults. Using nicotine can be complicated. In the short term, vaping nicotine may feel good by stimulating the production of the feel-good chemical in the brain called dopamine, which can create feelings of pleasure and relaxation. Vaping nicotine also creates a social opportunities to connect with other people and provide a distraction from stressful situations. These are powerful drivers for continuing to vape. However, because of the way nicotine works in the body, those feel-good chemicals don't last long. Within just a few hours, the effect of nicotine in the body wears off and can lead to a desire to vape again. This is nicotine withdrawal, and it includes craving or urges to vape, feeling irritated or upset, feeling jumpy and restless, and having a hard time concentrating, changes in sleep and eating habits, and feeling anxious or depressed. Over time, it can take more and more nicotine use more and more frequently to create that same good feeling and deal with these symptoms of withdrawal. That's called nicotine dependence. Eventually, what started out as a pleasurable experience of vaping nicotine turns into vaping to get rid of withdrawal symptoms. During the pandemic, a large majority of young e-cigarette users started using e-cigarettes to lessen feelings of stress, anxiety, or depression, and many continue vaping to cope with these feelings. 4 in 5 young people who have used e-cigarettes, which is 81%, said they did so as an attempt to lessen the stress, anxiety, or depression. Recent data from the National Youth Tobacco Survey show that among students who currently use e-cigarettes, most cited feelings of anxiety, stress, or depression, and the high or buzz associated with nicotine as reasons for use. This cycle can make it feel like vaping nicotine relieves anxiety and depression, but the reality is that it only addresses withdrawal symptoms and makes the cycle continue. In 2021, 11.3% of high school students, which is 1.72 million, and 2.8%, which is 3,200,000, of middle school students reported current e-cigarette use. Among current e-cigarette users, 43.6% of high school students and 17.2% of middle school students reported using e-cigarettes on 20 of the past 30 days. Daily use was 27.6% among current high school e-cigarettes users and 8.3% among current middle school e-cigarette users. As a student at New Milford High School, we have had many reports of students vaping in bathrooms. Research shows that students have high rates of using e-cigarettes or vapes in school. Recently, the youth agency provided workshops for internet safety and vaping and its effects on youth. We hope to be able to present a condensed video summary of both workshops soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Great job.
Sarah, can I have your notes?
Yes, you may.
Great job. I just have a question.
Sir, Councilman Cosgrove has a question for you.
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
So 11% of high school kids are vaping. Is smoking at all common in school these days, or have all the kids kind of gone to vaping?
Vaping. That's as a high school student, I've like seen and witnessed a lot of vaping, and data and research shows that as well.
And I think in the adult population, smoking dropped a lot when there became more of a kind of a public stigma attached to it. Are you seeing that at all in the student population?
No, mostly mostly in the student population, it's like e-cigarettes and vaping, and in a lot of students my age are, have anxiety or depression, and they believe that this is the solution, but it's really not.
Just one suggestion, there's a book by the name of, by a guy by the name of Alan Carr. It was for cigarette smoking, but it was really nicotine addiction. Really short book, but it really, he very well illustrates how nicotine actually increases stress and anxiety. And just something to read and maybe pass that around to some kids who vape. But thank you very much for your report.
Of course. Thank you.
I just have a
Sal?
Thank you.
Just a quick question. So I like your presentation, really well done. Quick question for the youth agency. The vape nicotine was approved by the FDA, correct? So it's a legal thing. Yes? Do you know of something like this?
The flavored ones are being banned.
Yeah, as of now, they're legal though, yes.
Yeah.
But they will be banned.
Right, so the problem is we would have to go to FDA if we want to really battle this thing, right? Because on a local level, I get this, but it's approved by the FDA. I'm not trying to tell that you have to do. I'm browsing this thing. Now, the other thing is that Governor Lamont approved use of marijuana, and it's got a dopamine as well. So it sounds like we're going to have a vape on, what the hell is it? Marijuana and opioids sooner than later in our hands. So what you guys do is amazing.
One of the good things, I don't know if you want to talk about it tonight or not, that we did last week, the youth agency did in tandem with the New Milford Police Department, was they did a whole thing on vaping at the max. They had parents and kids, and they broke out into different, kids went in one room, parents went in another, and they talked about vaping, talked about needs to help assist with those kids that are vaping. So I want to thank Jason O'Connor. I want to thank everybody as they're beginning that. And they also, the day before, did stuff with the police department as well on cyberbullying and on bullying, which, as we know, we're putting a very big effort on trying to.
Sounds like we need to help more than any time in the past.
Very good.
Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Okay. Next is discussion on possible action on the appointment of Walter Bear to the Pension Committee. And as Walter is a former councilman and also now on the Board of Finance, recommend Walter for that seat. So did the chairman. Tom's second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
We have,
say anything?
I'm hiding in the back, Mr.
There you go, Walter.
I can hear you.
Here I am.
Thank you.
Was that an abstention back there?
That was a maybe.
Okay. Next, mayor's comments.
No Jeremy, no Dr. Levin.
No, I'm sorry, Dr. Levin could not make it. He is actually in Poland now, helping with getting funding and scientific equipment and whatnot to the Ukraine. So I sent his report to the council.
Yep, I should go. We got that.
So I want to thank Dr. Levin for all his efforts, not only for here, but also for helping those in the Ukraine. Quickly, the...
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, is that then available to the public as well? his report?
Absolutely.
So is it already out? Or
So
is
what
it-
Pat does is after you look at it like this evening, then Pat will put it on the website.
Oh, great, okay.
Yes, ma'am. COVID-19 numbers, and we talk about this each time that we have our meetings, and this is in no way how many people currently have COVID. This is in totality since 2 years ago, March. State of Connecticut is at 658,688. Litchfield County is at 27,320, which was up 46 from Friday. Hospitalizations for the entire county are at 2, which was up 1 from Friday. Vaccine statistics for New Milford from March 24th with the 7 to 10 day look back. First doses are at 22,648, which is 84.49%. Second doses are at 20,675, which is 78.92%. And as we say each and every time we're at these meetings, for those that choose to get vaccinated, you can go to www.newmilford.org. In the red banner, click to register for a first dose, second dose, booster, and for those that are immune compromised, a 4th dose. And when you click that link, it will take you to the health district where you can register. We still continue with COVID testing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And also the health district is offering the rapid PCR testing at Pettibone on Monday and Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. For New Milford's totals, we're at 4,837, which is up 8 from Friday. And as we have seen, our numbers have gone down significantly from the real high numbers that we had in December, January, and a good portion of February. And speaking with Lisa Morrissey, we're going to continue to see that trend. But with the new variant that's coming in, we may see some additional upticks within the next weeks, especially at the holiday season for Easter. The Ukraine, New Milford, we continue our support of the men and women of the Ukraine. And you can show your support by donating a couple of ways. You can purchase a ribbon. You can do that at the following locations: Nutmeg Olive Oil, BD Provisions, Tasty Waves, Three Brothers, Joe's, Connecticut Auto Repair behind Levine's Auto, Rustic Country Barn on Park Lane, New Milford Fitness and Aquatic, Entree Beau Salon, Dr. Jeffrey Sanderson, to name a few. You can go there. You can also donate to the Red Cross, the Ukraine Orthodox Church. There's many ways to do that. Also, another resident, Mickey Harkin, is selling sunflower postcards and seeds, $5 a set. And you can go to bit.ly/MIKKIH to get the form for there. And I'll make sure we put that on our sites as we've done before. And want to thank Natalia, especially as she has done a phenomenal job raising funds for those people in the Ukraine.
That's the lady that works at the USPS.
At the U.S. Post Office,
Yeah.
absolutely. We did our flag raisings again this past week. Last week, we raised the Puerto Rican flag to honor those with Puerto Rican heritage and their Emancipation Day. We've raised the Greek flag on Friday for Greek Independence Day. And for those with Greek heritage, thank you, Mom. So for that. And today we raised the flag in honor of the Bangladeshi community that we have here and for their Independence Day. So I want to say thank you to that. Also want to talk a little bit about the events that are coming up here in New Milford. For those that don't know, tonight started Restaurant Week. So we've got a bunch of participating restaurants. So we're very excited about that. And also the youth agency is offering babysitting for those that may have some kids that can't be by themselves. A great opportunity, as well as the Village Center of the Arts. And you can go to www.newmilfordnow.org and you can see all the highlights for that. So it's a wonderful event. Can't thank all the restaurants that are participating, and the public is going to be very exciting. On April 9th, as we talked about that today already, the Easter egg hunt with Park and Rec puts on, and we're doing it again on the Town Green. Last year we did it on Town Green. Had a bunch of kids. It was great. Great for the downtown, great for the kids. Wonderful event. On the 9th as well, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., the women's club's holding their penny auction. It's always fun to go down there, throw a couple pennies in, see if you can win some stuff. April 9th is going to be a busy day. From 9 a.m. to noon at the cafeteria at Pettibone, the Rotary Club's doing their Unfood Drive. On April 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., our Earth Day celebration. We had that last year. It was very successful. Thank you to Laura Murphy and the Park and Rec team, as again, we're going to do that this year. On May 7th, from 9 a.m. to noon, the Farmers Market opens, and that will be weekly, starting on Saturdays, and that'll be the kickoff day. Also, we're going to have live music on the bandstand as we did last year. May 7th, also from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Pettibone, the New Milford Rotary does their Shred Day. So if you have some very important documents that you want to get rid of and not have anybody look at it, then go get them shredded over at Pettibone. On May 14th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Park and Rec's holding their first annual town-wide tag sale. So a couple towns have been very successful in doing that. So I know Laura and Dan are working on this one. Should be very exciting. On May 21st and 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., the third annual Goat Days. It's always been successful. This is their third year. It's down at Youngsfield. On May 21st at Lendeming, we're doing the Kids Fishing Derby. So if you have a youngster that wants to see if they can catch some fish over in Candlewood Lake and want to get involved in the derby, please check out the Park and Rec site and register for that. On June 4th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the Town Green, the Women's Club is holding, again, the 25th Annual Teddy Bear Festival. So they had a hiatus, obviously, due to COVID, but they're back. July 2nd is the New Milford Fireworks Celebration, and the Lions Club will start their carnival on July 1st. And they'll be going July 1st and July 2nd, and July 2nd is our fireworks. Very excited about that. July 29th and 30th, the Chamber of Commerce is holding the Village Fair Days. That's back again, so we're excited about that. August 28th at Youngsfield and the Town Green, Sergeant Zach Scholar and Cody's Law, the second annual Drug Awareness 5K and Recovery Festival. September 24th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the second annual New Milford Apple Festival. And on top of that, we're also doing the Alzheimer's Walk in tandem. And Ivan Schiffman is running that as the chair of the Alzheimer's Walk, so it's going to be a great partnership. October 29th, Halloween on the Green from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. October 29th from 5:30 to 7:30 is Trunk or Treat. November 26th, wow, 5:30 is the annual tree lighting. We'll keep adding to this as we get more and more stuff. As you will see tonight on your agenda, we also have another one where we're doing, we'll talk about it in a second, where we're going to be doing Riverfest, and we'll talk about that a little more in a moment. Infrastructure, we continue on our road program. Jack is here April 1, or when the weather is more cooperative, unlike today. We had a little bit of snow this morning. We're going to begin our road program. For those who've seen the roof here on Town Hall, it's coming along great. Now they're working on some of the wood that is around the facade of the building, so they're working on that in their shops there. Pretty much all of the standing seam is put on the roof. It looks beautiful. They're going to do some masonry work up top there too, so that'll be wonderful. The New Milford High School roof, that project is continuing, and they had to slow down a little bit, obviously, because of the depth of the elevations there, and with the ice and everything, they had to stop a little bit. But now they're continuing with, not today, but prior to, they were installing the rake edge when they were on site, and they installed panels on the lower section of the high school. So they're going to continue with that. As far as Hine Hill, we had a bunch of our residents talk about, especially during commute times, when they come down, they're trying to get onto Grove Street, how dangerous it is. I've asked Jack and our engineers to see if there's another way, and they're working on it, that we can make that a safer intersection. So Jack and the engineering team are working on that one. As far as the bridges, Jack will come up and talk a little bit about Chernersky Bridge in just a few moments. Tamarack Bridge, I believe it's going to start, Jack, let's see, we have here on April 1st, is we're going to start working on the bridge replacement for Tamarack, and that's going to be getting underway. The grant agreements for Mud Pond Road and Gaylord Road bridges, they were finalized. Gaylord Road Bridge is going to start, Jack, when is that going to be? Gaylord? April 11th, so that one will be starting. Library continues to move forward, that project. We're looking at tentatively that being the end of June. As we all know, that was pushed back due to material shortages, and we still have some with the lighting that we're waiting to come in. And that'll be a state-of-the-art facility. We're very excited about that. Also with the Senior Center, they've been doing a lot of good things this past week. And The municipal agents provided 67 services to 40 individuals. The buses provided 230 rides to 59 riders. They also did 157 meals to 92 individuals in-house, because now we're doing those meals at the senior center now, which is great, and 114 meals to 29 individuals, which they've still delivered to. We had 500 seniors use the senior center this past week in one form or another, so we're very excited about the people continuing to use it. So thank you to Jasmine and her whole team when it comes to the senior center. And congratulations, I want to congratulate Ian Lee from New Milford High School. He placed 6th in the state opens in both swimming and the 50 free and 100 butterfly. And back in February, I want to congratulate Reagan Williams from Scotticoke for winning the all-around and being named tournament MVP in gymnastics. Pretty awesome. Absolutely. So very excited, and congratulations to her as well. And that's what I got so far. Next, we're going to go to the road closure. So this is talking about another event that we're going to be having, and that's the Riverfront Revitalization and Ostomy Awareness requests the closure of Youngsfield Road, Housatonic Avenue, and Boardman Road to Medenstill on Saturday, October 1st from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Riverfest New Milford River Run 5K and Kids Superhero Sprint. And obviously that's going to be pending traffic authority approval as well. I know Deb's here. If you want to say a couple words, you guys want to talk a little bit about it?
Just Lisa was unable to be here tonight, so I'm here with myself and Bob to represent the event. And the 5K and the kids sprint, what happened last year for the first time, was a big success, and it'll be happening again this year. We have started communications with the NMPD and met with traffic authority last week, which granted approval for that. So we are hopeful for your blessing to move forward with that so we can get the word out and hopefully bring some more people to the town to participate in the event and celebrate the town.
It was an amazing event last year. Lots and lots of runners, and especially the kid ones too. It was pretty cool. So we have, can I entertain a motion to request the closure of Youngsfield Road on, okay? Any discussion? I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Was that an abstention?
No, I think that was a late.
It was a late,
Yeah. There's a delay on some of the audio.
Very late. That was far away.
Next is the request, discussion of possible action on setting a special town meeting for the distribution of ARPA funds Monday, April 11th at 6:30 p.m.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Is this what's going to be discussed?
As you're going to see, this is kind of a summary so far of what we have. So you're going to look on the first 2 sheets, and those are the ones that have already been approved at a town meeting. And you'll see that comes to, if you take the first page and the second page, the total of those 2 combined is the $5,785,840.12. And then the third page you will see is the appropriations that have been approved by Town Council and Board of Finance. You'll see that the Council, then the Board of Finance approved the first tranche of those on the 26th of January. And then the second tranche that you'll see there is they were just approved this past week. And you'll see the amount for the first tranche was $932,672, and the second tranche was $958,246.88. So those 2 tranches will be at the town meeting. And then you see that would go to a town meeting. The total then would be $1,890,918. And then the third page is the pending ones that we've been talking about, which is Housatonic Valley, the association, where we're looking at river safety. They had 2 requests. One was for $1,534. One was for $1,500. And then we have the drug addiction one for 150,000, farms and farmland for 150, and then there was some talk about EMS training as well. And when we're looking at total numbers, if you look at the total,
I think the addiction one is wrong.
The
What?
drug-
I think the addiction one is wrong.
It's 33,000.
yeah, that one was already approved.
No, 24 was approved in.
24 was earmarked. The total that I'm asking for is 33,000, but
Oh,
if we'll take
33?
150.
So,
Okay.
so it's an additional 9 above the 24.
Additional 9, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And may I ask a question? I can't remember. The town meeting when the first big was approved, what was the date on the town meeting? Yeah, the big one? I can't remember.
I can get that
I looked
one
at
for
it
you.
recently, but I can't remember.
I can get that one for you. It was last,
Was it?
yeah, it was like in,
Right? I just would be good for folks
sure,
to know.
I'll get
and-
you that.
Okay, thank you.
But just to be clear, we're not approving these numbers right here. We're approving that you're going to have a meeting because I
Correct.
still have some differentials
Correct.
on these numbers. Okay.
Absolutely. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Yes.
A second on the approval to go to a special town meeting on Monday, April 11th at 6:30 PM in the E. Plum Art Room. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Aye.
That was yours.
Oh,
I think it's unanimous. I think
okay.
they're all ayes.
Okay, gotcha. All
Are
right.
you sure about that? I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, were you for that?
By heart.
Is he even there? Is he still there?
Mike?
Sorry, had to move on. Yes, I'm for it.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Next is, we can have our HR Director, Greg Bolero, and Donna Hespy from the Milford Ambulance. Come up and we're talking a little bit about discussion and possible action on the EMS Operations Manager position. This was the one that was approved by the Town Council. As Donna had come up and told us the need, especially for managerial position, as we're moving to a pretty much a paid service now. Greg, can you talk a little bit about it?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This position is one that was approved through the ARPA funding. There has been a big need for this position for quite some time. The job description is a product of the ambulance board of directors. They've put this together. The personnel office really not qualified from a medical perspective to put that together. But it was a really great collaboration. They did bring this job description to me, which we've also sat with the mayor on and put a product together that I think highlights what this job is. Certainly not all-inclusive, but appropriate for the position.
And again, to reiterate what Greg had said, we really relied on the experts in the position, and that would be the board of directors at the ambulance for what they felt was the need for that managerial position. So we really relied on their expertise.
That's exactly right.
Any questions for Greg or for Donna?
I have a question.
Donna here?
Yeah, Donna's right back there.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, so I have, I guess both. So what, for the new Milford residents, what that position, what need will that fill?
So this is going to provide leadership for this role, administrative as well as direction. It's going to help with supplies. It's going to help with the staffing perspectives. Donna, if you want to talk a little bit more on
Basically,
the
what it's going
management
to
of
do
this.
is, we are all volunteer, and we've reached the point now, I think, when I budget time, I told you we've gone up another 500 calls from last year. We're extremely busy, and we need someone in-house, so to speak, that's there from that 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever position, whatever time. We need them there. There's so much going on in the building. The volunteers, we just, I put a lot of hours in, but I just can't be there 7 days a week filling that spot. We need someone that's dedicated for just that. There's repairs going on, there's new equipment coming in, there's rigs that need service, they have to be, timed. Obviously, we've got 2 full-time crews working, 24/7. And we've got to make sure that the rigs go out, come back, another one can go out. It's just, there's a million things
So you
that
have
go
a people
on.
shortage, right? We're gonna hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
Any other discussion on the job description?
Looks good to me.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
Was there a motion?
We have a motion to approve the EMS Operations Manager position
I make a motion.
Second?
and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite our DPW Director, Jack Healy, up on the Chenersky Road Bridge project. Jack?
Good evening. I was glad to hear that you had the Monarch Day, because it's one of the things we have to do is study the monarchs up there. We have a requirement as part of the permit, so I was glad to see you did that. As far as the bridge goes, we've continued to work with our consultant on the budgets for them. At this point, we're down to really to two selections. The last time I was before you, I said we could look at a box culvert and a constructed bridge. With some of the Army Corps of Engineers requirements, and at this point, everything's done. We haven't made actual applications, so we're doing this by phone and going back and forth and saying, okay, what do we have to meet? We've eliminated, or not looking at a box culvert at this point. I have done some more research on box culverts, but at this point, the prices I'm going to give you are strictly for constructed bridges. For a single lane bridge, replacing at the size that's there, utilizing the ARPA funds, and these, you've had $600,000 of ARPA funds. The estimated price for construction is $1,430,000. You subtract the $600,000, it's $830,000 cost to the town. A two-lane bridge, same construction, just wider, that meets the requirements for a grant with Department of Transportation. The estimated cost is $1,660,000. Again, removing the ARPA funds and also removing $830,000, a 50% grant. They've established a 50% level to grant this year. So the cost to the town would be $230,000. The grant application is due between April 1st and April 31st. We've already prepared the grant in case we want to use it. So we've gone through the calculations. We haven't. It just needs a signature if the town council directs me to do that. As far as the process goes, we have to put together a process where we go before the state, have an official designation. If that was the way we go. Well, either bridge, we have to go before the state. We've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers. There's two ways that we can go with the Army Corps of Engineers. One is self-verification. Self-verification means that you meet all the criteria that they establish. I've been talking with Peter Olmsted at Army Corps, including the bank width, 1.2 times the bank width plus the 2% freeboard. The other way is the pre-construction notification, which means it takes much longer. They have to write up a report for the federal record, which means we haven't met all of the criteria exactly. One of the difficulties we're having is the 2-foot freeboard. To do that, we'd have to raise the bridge from where it currently is. So we're working with the Army Corps on doing that. The Chenersky Bridge has a 10.72 square mile drainage area. That's one of the reasons that they do the calculation, look at the freeboard. It has an overtopping history, and I've gone back, and the overtopping history seems to me very, very minimal, but we still have to justify what's occurring there. The rest of it, I think, is pretty much what I told you in the past. Mayor, do you want me to go into the emergency bridge, or do you want to introduce that?
We'll talk about it in just a minute, but just to clarify for the public that's here watching this, and that's watching it on TV. So there's been some conjecture that the town of New Milford has violated the scenic road ordinance when it came to the bridge. So I'd like our town attorney to opine on that for... Frank, say just a little bit louder.
So the bridge is gone. Temporary repairs and repairs do not fall under the scenic road ordinance. A new bridge, construction of a new bridge does. Simple as that. So you're not there. You're
What triggers the scenic road committee to form would be once the decision was made as to which bridge to go to.
Right,
Am I
once
correct
the
in that?
council makes a decision to build a bridge, it has to go before this, you have to have a scenic road committee. You must. That's under the ordinance. But there's nothing pending, so there's nothing to give them. It's like when you give a jury a case. You give the jury a case when you're done with the evidence. Here, you need to give the scenic road committee the matter when you made a decision to move. That's how it's done. So you've not violated it yet.
And Randy, just for the edification of those that are here and also that are watching TV, the scenic road ordinance, when you have the committee, what is their charge? What can they opine on, and then what really can't they opine on?
Well, the aesthetics, they have to preserve the aesthetics of the area, and then they report to town council. But it's just an aesthetic function, because you want to maintain the nature of a scenic road. And that's what the scenic road committee's charge is.
Nothing to do with design?
Well, no, they're not engineers, but they do have to do with aesthetics. And that's the critical component of the scenic road committee.
Okay.
So if the town council makes a decision, then the scenic road commission
is formed.
Scenic road committee meets, and they determine the beauty, the beautification and the aesthetics of what the decision of the council is vis-a-vis the alterations.
So if they do not believe that what is planned meets their criteria, what then?
They report to the town council,
And then what?
and the town council makes a decision to follow it or not. But the reality is that the town council, if it's a scenic road, the scenic road committee has to meet, make a determination, and report to the town council. Scenic road committee is not an engineering entity, it's an aesthetics.
Certainly the scenic road committee, the intention of the committee is to work with the town and to come to the agreement and, you know, and to preserve the road. So I wonder, why would it not be, you know, kicked into gear when the bridge is being considered?
Because
you know,
you can't-
instead of wasting everybody's time to pick the bridge and then say it doesn't, you know, sort of a lot of back and forth versus the intention of the scenic road commission's probably to, you know, not run into a situation like that.
Right, it's a cooperative committee. The committee cannot overrule a legislative body, does not have that power. So the reality is that the committee makes, it's supposed to be cooperative, it's not supposed to be adversary. So the reality is that you come to the town council with your recommendations, and the town council considers and adopts, modifies, or doesn't.
But this committee hasn't even been formed yet.
There's no action pending.
Well,
Once
we're
the
talking about
decision-
the bridge.
Once the decision is made concerning the bridge, the committee is appointed. They don't make a decision whether to do a bridge or not.
Certainly in the deliberation of what bridge this town is going to go with,
Yeah.
the committee will weigh in on their
Certainly.
consideration, and that is the intention of the formation of this.
But they'll weigh in on the aesthetics
Certainly, but
of the
it's
bridge, not the
aesthetics,
design
though.
of the
It's not
bridge.
that they can't make it.
So not one lane, two lane.
So whether it's aesthetics.
They've got nothing to do with that.
Whether it's aesthetics or not, whatever it is, this committee hasn't even been formed yet, so in a sense, we are in violation.
No, you want, take it to a court. You're not in violation.
Okay.
You've done this before.
Until we make our decision.
Right.
And then they can weigh in, but it's meaningless.
Well, that's up to you whether it's meaningless or not. Is
But
it?
you're saying it doesn't hold any,
Well, yeah,
you're saying
it's
it,
definitely meaningless.
You make a recommendation.
The council's gonna make the decision, and then they tell the scenic road ordinance committee what to do. Like, I mean, that is absolutely idiotic in my opinion. I don't even think that's legal.
I didn't write it.
it doesn't make sense.
I didn't write the ordinance.
Seems like a lot of work is done,
Can
and
we
then
talk about money
another
for a second?
weighs in. But
So,
anyway.
Randy, I have a question for you, I'm sorry. So when the state steps in, right, because let's say we're going for the grants to the states, to the state, and the state says they know how to do the bridge, right, so they have their standards.
Sure.
Sinning, non-sinning, doesn't matter, it could look like a Eiffel Tower, doesn't matter. They're building the bridge,
Right.
period. So if once we get the money from the state, it's it, correct? Is that my understanding? Do we have to approve anything or anything? Because this is where I'm confused.
Well, the scenic road committee has to, this is a scenic road,
Right.
so they have to consider.
Yeah, but they don't pay for the bridge. Scenic road can meet day in and day out.
Right,
They
right.
don't pay for the bridge.
Either the town pays to put the bridge, I haven't finished. Either the town pays for the bridge, the state, or two of them, or some kind of a.
Right.
So those are the parties that actually have something to say about the bridge, correct? And if the state steps in, and they're saying, we're gonna put half for the bridge, like we're saying for the first lane, for the one lane, they're gonna.
No, state won't pay for one lane.
State doesn't do anything.
All right.
Okay, so now I'm confused.
Questions about the bridge?
So Jack, can you?
Can I read a section here?
Absolutely. Because last time okay, never mind. Go ahead.
This is the definition of an alteration or improvement, and I think it'll help you. The alteration or improvement of a designated scenic road shall be determined by the town council. Any proposal for alteration or improvement, whether by private or public or private applicant, shall be submitted to the town council along with a suitable map showing in detail and the proposed alteration and improvement. At the next scheduled meeting, after submission of the proposal, the town council shall refer the proposal to the planning commission, and the mayor, with the approval of the council, shall pursuant to the charter appoint a committee to advise the town council on the alteration improvements being proposed and any alternative solutions.
But this step was years ago, when you took away the bridge is closed, so this step has already happened, right?
Well, see, I don't interpret that way. I interpret that you have to, there's many steps in there. There's no proposal at this point for design of the bridge. And I think
Okay.
that's what has to come before the town council.
Okay.
And then the aesthetics, there's multiple parts of the design.
Okay.
You can alter the design of the aesthetics, so.
Jack, so the
Okay.
question that I had is this. The first time you came in front of us, you give us 4 options.
I'm sorry.
The first time you came in front of us 2 weeks ago, 3,
Yeah.
with the numbers and stuff, you said there were 4 options.
Yes.
One, we get the numbers from the states, like a grant, by the state, with the state grant money.
No, without the state grant money. That's why it was $830,000 to the town. A single lane bridge will not be funded by the state because it's considered functionally obsolete at the moment you build it, and they feel it's an improper use of funds.
So let's talk about this, right? So the one lane bridge is built by the state with their grant money.
No.
No one-lane bridge for the state.
No.
None.
No.
They don't.
No, the state will not build a one-lane bridge.
Got it. So it's all us.
All us.
Number 2.
Number 2, the second number I gave you is a 2-lane bridge. The state, there's an application project, there's multiple levels. This one would be funded under the state local program, which this year has been established at 50% reimbursement. So we estimated the cost at $1,660,000. Now, so that means that the state would reimburse the town $830,000 for that bridge. And on top of that, you have the ARPA funds, which means the cost of the town is $230,000. The single lane bridge, which they will not fund,
Understood.
is $1.4 million. You remove the $600,000, it means the cost to the town is $830,000.
And then to just make sure we're
What
all.
about the $700,000?
Hold on.
What happened to that?
So that's
That
where
was talking
that's where we're
about.
go.
That was all
That's
We're headed there.
That's where we're going. So there was some people making some accusations at the last meeting about $700,000 that the town supposedly has. So Jack, could you opine as to where that money actually is going?
It's going to Gaylord Bridge.
Huh. Okay.
And Gaylord's Bridge, and Gaylord's Bridge was actually in the bid documents because, Jack, we were doing 2 bridges in the bid, correct?
Yes,
Which was Mud Pond and,
Gaylord Bridge.
correct.
Mayor.
Well, that's not what was said last
Well,
time, that's why there's
be very
confusion.
confusing, doesn't it?
This is what we have right now. So it looks like.
Hang on,
hang on.
we'll
I
go
got the
one at a
door.
time. Chris?
So, Jack, we went from 4 options to 2. So the box culvert is off the table now?
At this point, it's off the table, Chris, because when we talk to Army Corps, they have 2 criteria. Talking with the engineer, at this point, with the box culverts, the information we have, we didn't feel that we could meet the freeboard with the type of box culvert that's available.
Couldn't meet the what?
The freeboard requirement.
What is that?
You have to take the highest level, the FEMA level, and you have to have a 2-foot freeboard.
Okay.
And we felt we couldn't do that.
Okay.
Now, since then, I am still working on trying to find alternatives. There is a company that makes a 3-sided box culvert up to 35 feet, but at that point, the Batiste driveway would be in front of their driveway, so I'm trying to bring it back.
Yep, okay. And and this is maybe an impossible question with the environment we're in today, but considering materials and build time and all of that, any significant difference in the time between the two options left?
No.
About the same?
No, you talk about, the only difference, Chris, is really the width.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of amount of concrete and material movement we have to do.
Okay. So, and basically, if we apply the 600K in ARPA, really what we're talking about is a $600,000 difference to New Milford taxpayers between the two options.
Based on what I've done, what we have in front of us, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hillary?
Yeah, I just have two questions. The first question is this the width of the bridge, the single lane bridge? Is it, what is the width that you're proposing?
16 feet.
16
Exactly the same as,
Okay.
you go up to today, it's 16 feet?
Exactly the same that it
Exactly the
was.
same width.
Okay. That was my first question. Thank you. The second question is, are we certain that we can use the ARPA funds in conjunction with a grant?
Yes, we did a lot of research on that. We absolutely can. Greg and Randy both we worked together on that, and they can give you their information, but we all came to the same conclusion.
Either bridge, either bridge.
Yeah, either bridge.
Yeah, with either bridge.
Jack, could you explain to me exactly what you mean by a constructed bridge?
It's one that where you put you remove the bridge that's there, and we actually go in, excavate the soil. We build forms, we pour concrete, and we build it that way, as opposed to a box culvert where you remove the material, puts on some footings, and you actually bring a pre-constructed bridge in and set it down.
A free-flowing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how many sides does this constructed bridge have?
It's just
And is it a cement bottom?
No cement bottom. It's pretty much, it's not like the one you have there now. I was there today, another piece fell out. But it would be similar. It's an open bottom, you have natural soil, natural material there.
It's a free-flowing.
Yeah, free flowing. And even the one I'm looking at, the other box culvert I'm still pursuing, that would be an open bottom also.
Councilwoman Thomas?
And then we have
How many
environmental.
bridges are one lane in the town of New Milford that you're planning on replacing single lane?
At this point, I don't. I'm not looking at the bridges that are on the schedule for the next 4 or 5 years. None of them are single lane, other than this one.
None of them are travel?
I'm sorry. The ones that we have scheduled, none of them. They're all 2-lane bridges.
Hey, Pete, can I make a comment?
Hey, hang on one second, Mike. We got Councilwoman Thomas was first.
We have a small window for construction because of environmental concerns, et cetera, right? I mean, there are certain times of year you're allowed to do this work in the river and certain times
Yeah.
you're not. So what is the window of construction?
This year we've missed it because we haven't got the
thought so.
plan.
Okay.
What we would do would be next summer, and that's why we have to do the study on the monarchs, the long-eared bat, the bog turtle. So we have to do all these studies, so it wouldn't be until next summer.
And those have to be done regardless of the option?
Yes, but there's only construction season in the summer.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, just basically repeating what Councilman Costco talked about is it's 600, it would be 600 grand more to go with the single lane bridge. I mean, I don't understand how we could allow the taxpayers, I mean, we have to represent all the taxpayers, and that's a lot of money to taxpayers. But this is the problem when you rely on the state and the federal government to dictate what you do in your town. The Army Corps of Engineers, federal government is telling us what kind of bridge we have to build. The state is saying, well, if you want money from us, you got to build this kind of bridge. That's why we want to limit federal and state government intruding into our town, into our community. But this is what we kind of voted for, and this is what we kind of wanted, and this is what we're stuck with. The town telling us, the state and the feds telling us we have to do this bridge if you want us to get this money from us.
So
I have a question.
Mayor?
go ahead, Tom.
Can I ask a question?
Tom, then Mary Jane.
Jack, if we have
Okay.
a 2-lane bridge, what is the plan to control major tractor trailers, double tractor trailers coming across our backcountry roads?
At this point, we tried to get a no-through truck ordinance. The OSTA ruled on that we could not. Other than that, we don't have any control on whether or not large trucks go there. We aren't able to do that.
Well, something has to be done because it is extremely extremely dangerous, and like I said before, these trucks have gotten stuck on the corners, and they don't know what to do. They can't go forward, they can't back up, and they come barreling down the road, and with the two-lane bridge, they're gonna come barreling even faster. And honestly, I really think that's what eventually, because of GPS, it blew out the bridge a lot sooner than, it would have happened. And it had major tractor trailers, double tractor trailers coming across our roads. I mean, and I'm not talking about construction things, construction trucks and stuff. I'm talking about, big box transportation. It's dangerous to the residents. Extremely dangerous to the residents on this road.
Agree with you. It's dangerous on most roads because those trucks now are driving down my road. Rich. Ask anybody on Big Bear, ask anybody on Big Bear and Little Bear about it right now because of the argument we've had. And so here's my question to you, Jack. Mary Jane, just can I make my statement, Mary Jane? Jack, you said Mary Jane asked a question, is there a plan? Here's going to be my question to you. And I can understand where people are coming from with trucks barreling down the road. Is there any way that we can put in any sort of speed bump or deterrent to slow these folks down before they barrel across the bridge?
What we were doing, with the design, with a single lane bridge, was putting a stop sign there. Now, what we have to be careful, when we design a bridge, we can't design a bridge to be or a road to be unsafe. This is considered a minor collector, and so we have to make sure that anything we do meets the road standards. I mean, we've talked about it several times. What are our alternatives? We've talked about doing traffic calming. The road is 23 feet on one side of the bridge, 19 feet on the other side of the bridge. Anything you do, you have to make sure that the road, that when you build a bridge, that it conforms with the size of your road and that it doesn't present a hazard. Things with speed bumps and speed humps is that they're considered, you can't put those just on any road. You have to be very careful where you put those because they present a hazard in them themselves. And so they have to be designed properly, noticed properly, and be careful where you put them on which road we place them. So far, New Milford's been very good about putting them on near the green, near the schools, which are very appropriate. And they can be, the other roads that they may be put on are ones that are just like a neighborhood road. We're looking at right now, we're doing a study on Charterhouse, possibly putting one on Charterhouse, but again, that's a very local road.
I mean, I will definitely be voting against a two-lane bridge just because I've heard so much from this community along that road. I mean, I read in the newspaper, the News Times, there were about 9 letters the other day from all making very, very good points. And, we've bonded like $10 million, $12 million over the last couple of years. So I feel like, there's got to be a way to support both environmentally the right bridge, aesthetically the right bridge, and the bridge that community really wants. So I feel, if we make this decision, I think the committee then will be formed and we'll probably hear from them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Any other questions
I
so
have a
far?
question.
Sal.
So we're not gonna have the bridge this year. If anything, it's gonna be the next year. Do we have a statement of work signed up, so the price is gonna be the same, or is it a possibility that it's gonna be much higher next year?
It could go up. I mean, the price has gone up just as we.
So from from the 800,000 that we have right now to the town for the single lane, that could be easily another 400,000. I'm speculating. What's that?
Could come down.
Yeah, you never know.
Really? I don't think so. So we don't have those prices basically.
Those are engineering estimates used. There's just a form there's a standard form that we use.
I just want to have the public to have this knowledge that we have numbers for today.
Yeah.
We don't have numbers from a year from today.
No, we do not.
Exactly.
It's our best estimate.
Chris?
One last question, I think, and this is probably a really dumb one, but do we have the ability on the bridge to put something overhead
there you go.
To such a height that tractor trailers
covered bridge or something like that.
Covered bridge?
Yeah.
I think you have to be careful, Chris, when you design that you design it so it doesn't, there's certain trucks designs that you have to meet, and I think anything we put would have to be higher, so it didn't hit the truck.
But I would feel with the New England style.
That's not the problem. The problem is that they're getting stuck on the corners, not right at the bridge. They're getting stuck up on
Right,
corners, and they can't get around
but
the corners.
at each,
So
at various ways along the road, if you can put height limits on it.
How to control the truck traffic coming through here. I think that would be a very suitable thing for you to do.
I just have to say something good, actually. I mean, we're trying to build a New England bridge for you. How's that for change? I'm just kidding.
Okay.
That was a joke.
So the question, to kind of add more complexity to this bridge, right? So Jack is telling you that this bridge to be fully construction, we're talking a year or more?
Oh, more than a year, yeah.
2 years out. So I received 2 letters. First is from our fire chief, Alan Harris from Northville. This was to the mayor. Mayor Bass, a significant amount of time has passed with the bridge on Chernirsky Road being impassable. This has delayed our response to this section of town, requiring longer alternate routes. It's also come to my attention that work will be beginning on the Tamarack Bridge. To provide emergency services to this area, we request that a temporary solution be implemented that allows emergency vehicles traffic access to the Sawyer Hill side of the road. Respectfully, Chief Alan Harris. Also received a letter from Chief Ceruto of the New Milford Police Department. I have known for quite some time that the bridge on Chernirsky Road has been impassable. I have been concerned about potential delays in providing emergency services to the residents in this area. My concerns were partially quelled by the fact that repairs or replacement were planned and pending. To this date, and after approximately 2 to 3 years, my concerns are heightened, and I am requesting that a temporary solution be implemented which will allow emergency vehicles to access this area. I've spoken with Attorney Randy DeBella, and as we have a precedent, which was Chimenoy Lane, which the culvert collapsed many years ago, we put a temporary bridge in. So I've asked Randy DeBella, do we have the ability to put a temporary bridge in? And we do. So I think for the health and safety and residents up in that area, we need to put a temporary bridge in. So Jack, can you talk a little bit about what a temporary bridge would look like?
There's 2 options on a temporary bridge. One is a modular construction, and it looks like an erector set. You have, on the sides, you'll have, essentially have some steel with and X bracing. It's a temporary bridge, it's modular. They sell it to you in pieces. In the town, our Public Works Department could assemble it and slide it across, and that would be a temporary bridge that you can use. If you look on the website, it's called ACROW, A-C-R-O-W. It's a derivation of the old Bailey Bridge. Everybody heard of the Bailey Bridge during the war? Essentially, they're the ones constructing Bailey Bridge. The other bridge that they would, other option that they have is more of a permanent solution, and they would. It's called a beam bridge. And essentially, it's not really, it's I-beams constructed in a modular form, and that one could be used in a much longer span of time. They gave me an example of one over in Scotland, Connecticut, that I was going to go visit it, but it was only in Connecticut, so I didn't want to go. Anyway, they have one there that they had just installed in the last year and a half. Leonard Engineering was working on it. We met with the person from ACRO today. He's been texting me while we're in the meeting. Delivery on a modular form. I think he's being optimistic. He said we could have parts, components, anytime 0 to 6 weeks. On a beam bridge, it would be longer. The town used to have I believe it was a modular bridge when the Chimenoy, and I guess they eventually did.
Randy?
Jack, I can speak to that. It's not our bridge.
Yeah.
That was a state bridge. Governor Malloy gave us that bridge at no charge to use as a temporary span. I arranged it. I mean, I did the paperwork.
Yeah.
Mayor Murphy arranged it. But and that is in the erector set mode, if you will. But that wasn't our bridge. We don't have that. That's owned by the state, and it was returned to the state.
I contacted the state, after we spoke, Randy, last Friday. I sent out about 20 emails to different companies. I contacted FEMA, contacted the state, went through the Yukon listserv, trying to get ideas, and they all pretty much came back to ACRO saying that and it's an erector. It's what you had then. It's the same thing. It's an erector set bridge, and you can put it in place, and it's good for It's all hot galvanized, so there, Chris, you know, it's gonna stand, it's gonna last a long time. I said, well, how long can you leave me? He says, well, we got one that we installed in 1984. So, okay, I guess they last a long time.
And is there a weight limit on it?
No,
No weight limit.
When you're finished with it, do you disassemble it? Can you reuse it somewhere else?
absolutely. That's one of the questions we had for him. I've talked to the mayor with 69 bridges and things that we're looking at all the time. One of the options is you can lease, you can rent, you can buy, you can actually lease, buy, and sell back. One of the things I talked to the mayor about on Friday was, would we be, you know, if we decided to go on this route, would we be interested in buying it and then storing it at Public Works? And if we have another situation like this, we could wheel it out and install it in another location. And even if you bought one right now, the length of this bridge, say 20, 25 feet, if at a later point we're doing a 40-foot bridge, all you do is buy more modulars and you stack them on the ends.
Yeah. Is there a special insurance for this?
I'll leave that.
We were covered by our Kerma policy at the time we did Chinmoy, so we didn't have to do an additional rider.
Gotcha.
Because it's part of our infrastructure.
Understood, thank you.
And we have enough expertise in-house to install it ourselves?
I believe they installed the last one, yeah.
Okay, wow.
What's the cost?
They gave me an estimate. I'm a little nervous about just saying, okay, whenever you give somebody a cost, it's like, okay, that's the number, and then of course it goes higher and you're stuck with it. So I'm concerned about giving a cost. I should have one very shortly.
Is it significantly less than what we have now on the table?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's a good information.
And Jack, in speaking with you, your recommendation for the temporary bridge would be a one-lane bridge.
Yeah, because what I'd like to do is that's why we're out there today, is we would remove the rails and all the stuff that's there, and we'd have to create a small abutments on each end, and then we would just literally go over the bridge that's there right now. It wouldn't be any wider.
And we don't need any studies or?
I've talked to FEMA. FEMA says you're not in the waterway, so you don't need a permit from them. I talked to DEP, he says as long as you're not in the waterway, you don't need to go to them. I talked to Jim Furlow for here. He says because it's an emergency, we probably could go to Inland Wetlands and get an emergency permit.
Okay.
And
Let's do this.
Randy, does that comply
Sort
with?
of crucial. I mean, are we talking about?
Well, it's a temporary structure.
Yep.
It doesn't apply, scenic road ordinance doesn't apply to that. Secondly, that Alan Harris is not a panicking guy, so that kind of frightens me. But the reality is that it's a temporary structure and it's not going to be forever anyway. So this doesn't apply.
And Jack, I know you're hesitant about giving us a cost to the bridge, but Scotland did one.
Yeah.
And their price was around
130 to 180 in that range.
For one lane?
This would be a very smart long-term investment to have with the amount of bridges that we have that need to be worked on. I think this would be a very smart thing for us to have. It's also something we could potentially lease out to other towns in the future after we've expended its use locally.
Yeah. And we'll have it now almost, right? Versus a year from now or 2 years from now.
Yeah.
And Jack, in theory, if we wanted to deploy it on another project that was, say, a 2-lane, because you said this is the only single lane, we could still use this and do the lighting system, stop on going east and while you go on west. And
Actually, Chris, you could just take and buy more modules, and you could go. It not only does it go longer, you can flop it and go width too.
Okay.
So it's really a very flexible system. It's essentially the Bailey Bridge they used in the war. And you just whatever you need. It's like the Rector set when we had when we were kids. You just start putting on more parts.
Okay.
So how do we proceed without knowing how much money we're allocating?
So my question, I would turn to our finance director. We could do one of a couple things. We could wait for Jack to get us a more firm price at the next town council meeting, come back and approve it, or what we could do tonight is approve an up to number, which then gives Jack the ability to go in and order it, because as we all know, there's material shortages all the time.
Exactly.
Prices go up all the time.
Transportation.
Absolutely. So this gives us kind of an advantage. So
Yeah.
I would recommend we go to an up to amount. And
I will support that.
And what do we think that amount would be?
I mean, Jack knows it, right? Approximately.
Well,
So you can tell us if we're off or not.
The Scotland Bridge was about 180. But that was a couple years ago. I don't know if you're comfortable with either 250 or 300. I mean, we won't spend any more than we have to.
So Jack, a question for you. Would you be putting up stop signs at either side of the bridge?
If it's a single lane bridge, yeah, we'll go right back. We did, when we made the fixes last time, and we would put the stop signs back up.
Okay.
And I wonder too, if it's a temporary bridge and the reason we're doing it is for emergency services more, might not also signage go up that says local traffic only, emergency use, kind of to
Yep.
cut down on other use of it?
Randy, can we do that?
I believe you can on an emergency basis, and I got some ideas for Jack anyway in general on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it?
Okay, make
Does
a
the council? You got a point, Mayor. Does the council
And where
would
would
like
the
to
money come
entertain a
from?
motion? I would ask that we allow the finance director to figure out where we can get that additional funding from.
There could be a few places, but he doesn't need to answer that tonight. That would be next time.
Correct, he'd
right?
bring it back to
Yeah.
us, absolutely. But this at least would give Jack the ability to go out and source the product for us. As we all know, things are going up all the time.
I mean,
Right.
my thought is to just reassign current assignments from fund balance for this purpose. I can raise that money.
Okay.
I can support that.
Would that need to be in the motion now, or do we wait?
I would say direct it. Randy?
It has to be in the motion now,
Okay.
The money?
up to
Up to.
the maximum amount, because you can't make, Jack can't make me making deals, and you can't be making deals without a transfer, with an inter budget transfer.
And this also would have to go to the Board of Finance, am I correct?
Yes.
No, this money's
No,
already
this
been
money's already in.
appropriated.
Okay, I got you.
See, we're not dipping into the undesignated fund.
No, this would come off the balance sheet, from fund balance.
From fund balance.
Not from any existing budgetary item within the general fund.
Okay.
Sounds like a
I
plan
guess
to me.
I'll make I'm thinking, making a motion for setting aside 290.
Up to?
Up to 290. Is that an appropriate amount?
I think
do
it's
you
an
Jack?
appropriate amount, Chris, yeah.
And we know you'll get a better deal on that for the temporary bridge for Chernisky.
I second that.
Second.
We have a que-
Jack?
For the purchasing authority.
Wait,
One lane.
single lane, single lane.
Yeah.
It'll be a single lane.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Question, do I need to do a bid, or am I doing this negotiation?
Randy?
No, this is
This
an
is
emergency, this
emergency.
is a temporary structure.
Okay, I just
It's
want
an
to make sure.
emergency. We just got a letter from a fire chief, I mean,
Okay, I'm good.
and the
Just wanna make
police
sure.
chief too, right?
So we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
Does the transfer of funds have to be part of the same motion?
Randy?
You don't need it, because.
No, it's
emergency.
No, oh, no, the transfer doesn't. The amount that you're authorizing.
Which is the 290.
But the director of finance is in charge of the transfer.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. And Jack?
Thanks, Jack.
I'd also like to see, I think, Councilman Cosgrove kind of made a very good analysis. I don't know if it can happen or not, but could a bridge, however we do it, could there be a roof on it?
Could there be
Figure
a-
what?
Some sort of overhead structure?
For,
we'll look into, I'll
Yeah,
talk,
just
I'll
saying, if
talk
you
to
could
Randy.
take a look at that.
Yeah.
Talk with Randy about it.
Like what they have on the parkways, like
Yeah.
while
Stuff
Jack
like-
is here, can I ask a question on a different project?
Absolutely.
Line painting will begin again soon, right? The weather's changing.
Yeah, it's supposed to start, it was supposed to start the end of this week, but with the weather right now, it'll probably get pushed to the middle of next week.
Okay. And what's happening with Long Mountain?
It's going to be on our next agenda.
Okay.
Town council is the final arbitrator, as Randy said, on line painting. Whether you want to do the lines or not do the lines. So it'll be on the next council agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next item.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Thanks,
Thank
Jack.
you, everybody.
I just just wanted to make a motion to change the order in which we hear the ARPA fund.
Sure.
Because the addiction services has been the longest sort of standing, so I wanted to go first with that, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Plus Justin's here.
Yeah, Michael and Mark are both here.
Do you need a motion or just
No,
do that?
yeah.
You don't need a
Go ahead.
motion? Okay.
So we're to see.
Okay, so we're talking about addiction services, sober housing vouchers. I know we have
So-
Mike Gold here, and we also have Justin. He's back
Yes,
here too.
so I mean, we've heard this, we've all heard this proposal before. I think that these funds are gonna be, impactful for our community, and I've been speaking with Michael and Mark, who both run sober living residences in New Milford. They're here to answer any of the questions, but I would like to move the money that we have earmarked of $33,000 of ARPA funds to be put towards sober living residences in New Milford. $24,000 to be used for vouchers for residents at Heritage Inn with the approval and at the discretion of Mark Eccles. $9,000 to be used for vouchers for residents at Hope House, Phoenix House, or Grace House with the approval and at the discretion of Michael or Austin Gold.
I second that.
We have a second from Tom. Chris?
So the question I've got in my mind is, are these funds going to support New Milford residents?
So I'm going to have Michael and Mark come up, but I think the purpose is to support the work that they do. So I don't think that they can discriminate who comes to their door. And also some people don't have addresses, which we learned tonight. So I think that they're doing their work and they're in New Milford and they're part of our community. And in addition to that, the residents while living there are part of our community. Some of them get jobs, spend their money here. So I think that just as we can't sort of, we gave money to Harrybrook Park, and we can't make certain that every single person that walks over that bridge is a New Milford resident. We give money to restaurants from ARPA funds. We can't be sure that everybody who eats in those restaurants are New Milford. But I totally understand your question, and I would love if they, if they want to answer differently, Michael or Mark. Yep. Hi.
Always, Michael.
And then
Hi, Michael Gold, 3 West Meeting House Road. Just a pleasure to be here, and thank you to Councilwoman Ram for putting this forth. These guys, men, come to us usually with 2 bags of clothes, with no place that they're not coming from a living situation. Either they're coming from rehab or from the street, or they're coming from a family's home, but there is no permanent residence, so to speak. And Pete asked Austin and I to start a women's house, and I'm glad to say that we did. November 1st, we opened up a 4-bed women's house. My boy's taken this from 4-bed house to 13-bed men and 4 women's house, 4 women's beds. So now he's in charge of 17 beds. People come from all over, Naugatuck, Bridgeport, Puerto Rico, Florida, New York, Long Island, Massachusetts. We've had them all over. And Austin sends his regrets he couldn't make it tonight. And I asked him, I said, how many people have we helped in the last 3 3/4 years? He says about 35 to 50. He says, if you want me to pin it down, I can. This is a 6-month stay, 6 months lease, but we don't ask people to leave after 6 months. If they want to stay, we let them stay. Our longest resident has been with us for 2.5 years. He works locally. He now has a fairly new car, and he's thriving. And it brings tears to my eyes, but I don't want to get all emotional. He came from Naugatuck living in his car. 2 kitchen garbage bags full of clothes. So what we've had to do in order to entice people to live in a sober community is that we have to give free rent. And this is where this voucher would be so handy. Austin said, Dad, we've got 3 beds open, and the rehabs are kind of full, but they're not as full as they were pre-pandemic. So what we do is that we offer a month's free rent, is to have somebody come in and stay with us and be a part of the community not only in New Milford, but the community at the house. And he did that. And so it's $22.50, it's $750 a month. Everything's included except for food. The person has to work or have an income. And we've just had to do this, and it's out of the bottom line, so to speak, for $2,250 to have people come in for April. Fingers crossed, they will stay sober, they'll like the community, and they'll continue with us. But every once in a while, we have to do this. It's about 3 times a year that we have to sponsor a bed. And we do it for a month. We don't do it for 2 weeks. Just do it. Excuse me, you do it for a month and try it.
And is that what you're looking to do with these funds? Is you're looking to take a voucher, so a voucher equals a month?
Yes.
Stay for a person?
Correct.
Then after that, what happens to that person?
Then
if they continue in the program?
Then they have to pay us rent.
Okay. So
If they don't
in
do-
theory, they have to be working, I guess?
Yes, or might be on Social Security. We don't age discriminate,
Right,
obviously.
yeah.
So anywhere from 18 to, I don't know, the oldest we've had is probably 72. So they might be on Social Security, but the problem is that they burn so many bridges, the family doesn't want to live in them at their
Right.
house.
If we are sponsoring these vouchers, are we assuming any liability for that individual?
Mm-mm.
Because we would be giving it to them.
No,
We'd be
that's-
giving the money directly to these organizations, no?
Right.
So what happens is the person comes in, or Austin might go out into the community to the different rehabs or hospitals or wherever he gets his leads from, and says, okay, guys, we're gonna sponsor a bed for 1 month free. Courtesy of, if you guys want me to put the town on there, I'm happy to do that. If it's a legal thing, we don't have to do that. Word of mouth.
How many empty beds do we have in our sober houses in town today? Do we know?
None, because
None.
we just sponsored
Okay.
these 3 beds.
Okay.
When it comes to men's.
I'm not talking about just yours, I'm talking about all the
That I-
ones in
that I
New
don't know.
Milford.
That I
Does
don't-
anybody know?
We have, I think, 5 empty beds right now.
We're usually pretty full. And it's usually long-term. But we get these dips.
And these numbers were given to me as like a 2-year projection, to sort of, for 2 years, that could fill their voucher need. They're free, to give these out. So that's.
Where does that money come from today?
What money?
So you are filling needs for some people who can't pay today, correct? So that.
You're paying for this?
It's
It comes
coming
out of the bottom line of
It's
your,
coming out of our
your
bottom
company.
line.
Yeah.
We're for profit, we don't, it's all,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Yep.
I don't wanna say too much more about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just so moved that,
Yep.
that Hillary would, or Councilwoman Ram would even call me and say, to me, it's a godsend. Because now, look how we can move this forward and have these people be off the street. It's just beautiful.
But if you have 5 beds right now, and the 6th person from New Milford comes, not from Naugatuck, we don't have that 6th bed in here.
No, that's Mark, that's not us. 2 different animals.
These are different companies.
Different companies.
Presenting here
I'm
tonight.
just saying in general, right? So we're trying to help people, which is a
Yes.
noble idea.
Yes,
We're
so-
saying we're not gonna help only people from New Milford, but from other towns. Fine. Now, but the first thing first is our residents of New Milford that we need to help with. So my question is, are we taking care of the New Milford first residents, and then we're looking at everybody else, or how does that work?
I won't discriminate.
It's not discrimination, it's pragmatic stuff, right? The people are paying taxes here.
Yes, it's first come, first serve.
Okay.
So hypothetically, let's say, Sal, that you called me and said, hey, I need a bed. and then somebody right before you called from
Understood.
from Waterbury.
Right.
I honor whoever calls first.
I get that point. That's no problem. I'm just saying is that there is that discrepancy that can't happen, right?
No, I won't do it. I'd rather turn the money away.
Okay.
Because I will not discriminate. I won't do it.
It's not discrimination.
I understand that. I hear you.
And Michael, I think that's awesome that you do that. I mean, you know, we don't discriminate in affordable housing either. So I think that's wonderful. And I support this 100%. I think, Hillary, I thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a great idea and a great service to any person that actually needs it.
And we also have Justin, who's here, and he's our community care coordinator.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, hey, Mark, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. Mark, can you come up?
Yeah, thank you, Council. So I'm Mark Eccles. I live at 34 Bridge Street. I run the Heritage Inn. So just to echo what Mike said, you know, we get it. We have the need for this all the time. Like right now, I have I think 3 people that were on scholarship. That same thing. We just give them the, you know, it comes out of our bottom line. As far as like the new Milford residents thing, like you know, these guys like come in here and they become basically residents. You know, we do a lot of volunteer work in the community. These people are, you know, shopping at the local stores. They're getting jobs here. I went to Michael's house and stayed here and became a new Milford resident. So, you know, they do kind of migrate here, for lack of a better word. So, you know, I think this would be an excellent resource. Like I said, I always get calls for this. We just always can't afford to do it. So I think it would really be a valuable service to the community. So.
And the services are for either alcohol or drug addiction? Either
Yes.
one?
Yep.
Or both, I guess.
Or both, yeah.
Opioids?
Mm-hmm.
Is state putting money into this thing? Because they cost the damn thing.
I'm sorry?
Is state give you any money for the opioids?
No. So
How
we
come
don't
they
get-
signed it up for it?
From the state?
Never mind.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Any
you.
other
Justin?
questions? Thank you.
Evening, everyone.
Hey, Justin.
So I obviously, like, I want to support as many people as possible too. So I'm thankful that we're actually able to, you know, continue to fund obviously the Hope House, Phoenix House, as well as Mark Uffco's program. I guess maybe a couple questions I have too. So I saw that it said addiction and depression funding. So are we differentiating that somehow? Is there a plan to be able to help any of those individuals that are also struggling with mental illness? Or how are we looking at that funding that we're earmarking?
Did you mean with this motion?
Yeah,
here?
yeah, well, 'cause I mean-
think it was just these houses, the sober living houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think one of the things that probably Michael Gold as well as Mark Eccles can confirm too is that a lot of these individuals that we have coming here, as well as a lot of residents of New Milford, struggle with gainful employment. So I think that, you know, maybe the town council should be looking also instead of into how do we support programs like social services to help a lot of people who are vulnerable that are residents in our community move forward by finding opportunities to be able to afford rent, food, and everything else for the numbers that just keeps, you know, going up. So, but I mean, do you have any questions of me for specifically?
Yeah, just in general, and, you know, every time I see you, I thank you for your work. You really do a
Well, they're doing
wonderful job.
the work. I'm
And
just pointing it out.
and I know you hate the accolades, but how do our sober houses kind of fit into what you do as the community care coordinator?
So typically, if we do find an individual like on a scene, or if I do get a phone call to be able to help transition someone into sobriety, it starts with obviously going to treatment, so detox and then inpatient rehab. And I think that both sober housing locations do a phenomenal job. That you just can't walk in the street being intoxicated into a sober house. So you have to obviously complete a program. Then they do their own assessment to say, hey, like, okay, you're going to be a good fit for this house, not just that you completed rehab. So they ensure that, hey, this is going to be an opportunity best for everybody. And then what I normally would do is I would follow that individual through those different steps of the continuum of care. Obviously, I think both of them can speak to it as well. It's very difficult sometimes to get a hold of rehabs. So if best case scenario, I can even make that communication, I'm ensure that, hey, you know, you're going from detox to rehab. As we're looking to transition out of rehab, here's 2 locations if they have a bed available. That's where I would come in to kind of help facilitate that conversation, as well as when the individual actually makes it to the house. Hey, what are you getting connected as far as the support group? And then what can we work towards for any of those other issues that they might be needing to be addressed, whether that's financial assistance, employment, medical care, outpatient counseling, the whole smorgasbord.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
So Justin, you've in the past had folks you've worked with who then you were not able to find an immediate place to live. Somewhere they've completed the detox and the rehab, and now what?
So you mean people to live as far as sober living?
Yes.
I
Has it
had-
been difficult? Do you
I
think this would make a difference?
I mean, I think that they would be able to speak more to the individuals that, because both Mark and Michael Golden, really it's Austin Golden, I know that, so I mean, thanks to him too, but they're the ones who are making obvious connections with a lot of the local rehabilitation centers. So if, I'm looking at New Milford because I work for the police department in New Milford, so they would know more about like how many other people do they really need. I haven't really faced that issue that much because my numbers aren't as high as far as finding people out of rehab for sober living as they do, because they are the ones in the rehabs all the time making that connection, because they're working with anybody from anywhere, where I'm really focused on New Milford residents.
Got it.
So that's why like I ask those questions like, hey, like here's some other ideas and things too that we could do. So.
Which we did do, because we hired a new social worker, they're definitely, but I completely understand what you're saying, the broader.
But really I mean, a lot of these agencies are individual agencies, so they're not really getting any funding from the state for the opioid epidemic. So, and it's very
You guys are
complicated.
doing God's work, let's put it that way. I mean,
It's a complicated situation, but just to allude that it's not that they were refusing any money, it's just that's not how the money was kind of broken up.
Yeah.
So they're doing everything they can to kind of scrape by to continue.
Yeah, I'm
the
just
funding.
surprised that the state is not coughing in.
And there
Which
are
they should.
Well, there are certain sober living locations that are called like, Sober Solutions is one. They're like basic needs sober housing,
Yeah.
so like they will be state funded through DEMIS, but they're very far and few between. I wish there were more of those too, because for the individuals who are more at risk that are on state insurance, that in 30 days they're not going to be able to even afford the opportunity. They need I'd say like an in-between level of care between more independent sober living and then individual rehab. So.
Yeah, I guess just one thought I've got in my head is all the other ARPA money we've approved. The only part that was for profit, I think there was a $5,000 limit on the grants.
For the businesses,
Yeah. So here we're talking $33,000, which is significantly more than we've given any other businesses in town. I understand that their business is very different from other businesses in town, but I'm just thinking out loud here, but I don't know.
It's a valid point.
But we gave a nonprofit 136, was it, for the bridge?
Right.
Can't remember, yeah.
Yeah.
136, yeah. But point taken. Yeah, I mean, I think that, the work that they're doing falls right smack in the, the wheelhouse of what ARPA is intended to do, which is, hurt people that are really struggling with, all these issues.
Yeah.
So to me, it's what they're doing in our town, making our town a recovery-friendly town, which is what we claim to be, and we are. So that's fantastic.
Any other questions for Justin, Mike, or anybody? Mark? All good. Okay. Justin, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I would like to make the motion.
You made the motion and
Okay.
seconded, so it's-
Second?
And and how much? It was 33?
33,
So
yep.
it'll be a $9,000 increase.
It was originally 24 and then up.
Well, the 24 was just a set aside. We didn't even have a,
The 24 is the heritage, the 9, it's for,
yeah.
9,000.
So it's gonna go, there's 3 houses, it'll be 11,000 each, is that what?
No, it's 24,000 to Mark Eccles and at the Heritage Inn, and then it's 9,000 to the Golds for the 3 houses. They both gave me their numbers for the monthly vouchers.
So Heritage is much larger in size?
We have 31 and 30.
Yeah.
And my company? 7, okay, got it.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second.
I'll second it.
it's already seconded.
It's already done.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any, who's that?
Opposed?
Is that Mike?
I think that was an aye, but.
Was that an aye, Mike, or a day, or?
Oh, sorry, I'm an aye.
Okay, okay. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries, thank you. Did we want to go back to farms, or did we want to do the HVA next?
Start at the top again.
Okay,
Farms.
all right. Farms and farm assistance. So we had a couple people talk a little bit at public participation. We also have a letter from Kennewood Valley Pediatrics. Do you have this letter too?
Yes, yeah.
From Dr. Hack. And I know the council had asked kind of for me to kind of look at, we looked at a needs assessment that we started out with. So I guess I'll start a little bit. Actually, got a lot of reading that I'll be giving you guys via scanning. So one of the things we talked about, the need assessment, some of the things I think we need to highlight is the objectives of the need assessment that was brought forward at public participation. And this is just to start the conversation. Obviously, this would be things that we would be working on. Would be the major needs for our current New Milford farmers. A sub objective would be evaluating what technology and innovation opportunities farmers see on the horizon. Determine the needs of the new farmers and micro farmers. Determine if there's environmental concerns with respect to agriculture that are not being addressed by current agriculture organizations or nonprofits. Also to determine if there's needs or additional opportunities to funnel locally grown produce into schools and or other appropriate organizations. I think the key audiences that we need to be looking at as we begin to build out the needs assessment would obviously be our current farmers, whether they be the large-scale, multi-year experienced farmer, the small-scale, new-to-industry farmer. I think everybody needs a seat at the table. We also need to bring in agricultural experts, which would be leaders from key agricultural land trust environmental organizations, also social service nonprofit organizations related to food insecurity. And so some of the, when I was doing due diligence, some of the ones that I kind of looked up was, and I'll go over this kind of briefly, was the Connecticut State and Federal Farming Organizations. And I'll give you guys the links to that. And that's done by the University of Connecticut that do that. And I can kind of give you just a little bit of what they do. The Joseph Bonanelli. There's also the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources that's up in stores. And they do everything from the animals to the education component, food and nutrition, horticulture, natural resources, and so on and so forth. I think they would be a good resource that we can use. The next one is called the Northwest Corner Food Hub. And let me get them. So the Food Hub is a regional food hub. They work with farmers all over Northwest Connecticut, and they pick up fresh, locally grown produce. They're delivering it to happy wholesale customers, such as schools, grocery stores, and restaurants. I think they'd also be a good resource that we can use about how we continue sustainability from the farm itself to the end of market, whether it be a store, whether it be a wholesale shop or whatever. And they've got a lot of experience in doing that, so I think they'd be somebody that we want to have on the table. Also, the next is Sustainable Healthy Communities, and this is a nonprofit. It's a public charity that promotes sustainable agriculture, local food, and active healthy lifestyles in communities of Northwest Connecticut. And it says get to know their work through their programs, which are listed below. They have a farmer's table, they have the food hub, farm fresh markets. I think they would be another wonderful resource that we could tap into. The next is the National Produce Prescription Collaborative. And what they do is they came together in the spring of 2019 with a purpose to catalyze the vital role of food and nutrition in improving health and wellness by collectively leveraging the unique opportunities for produce prescriptions to achieve wellness through the healthcare system, and embedding and institutionalizing proper produce prescriptions within healthcare payment model. They've served as they work with Wholesome Wave as a sole funding source for the NPPC. So I think they'd be another resource that we could tap into. If there are already people doing best of breed of these type of things, they would be a great opportunity for us to kind of have a dialogue with them and see how we can replicate or partner with them. We've done that with a lot of P3s already, whether it be recycling, other things that we've done now with the health, with our health district. The next is the national, National Produce Prescription. Wholesome Wave is another one. And this was built to solve nutrition insecurity. Access to nutritious foods is a fundamental human right. And I think this would be another wonderful nonprofit that we could talk to see how we could have them help us and leverage it. They're committed to meeting communities where they are working directly with them to build solutions in line with their beliefs, customs, and cultural preferences. One of the things I thought was very good in their mission statement was it says, human beings have inherent worth regardless of their station in life, which is why we all deserve good health and well-being. Unlocking the right and providing resources to choose nutritious foods for a vulnerable community. So that fits their wheelhouse, and these guys are already doing it. So I think we should be talking to them about how they're doing it. Could we partner with them? How does all that work? The next one is CT NOFA, and their mission is to ensure the growth and viability of organic agriculture, organic food, and organic land care in Connecticut. We envision a healthy, organic Connecticut founded on ecology, socially and economically just principles. In addition to our food-based initiatives, CT NOFA also runs the CT NOFA Organic Land Care Program to train the next generation of organic landscapers, land managers, and conservationists. So this would be another wonderful group already doing it that we could tap into to talk to about what we can do. They also launched their farm share program. I think we need to know more about that. Next one is the Connecticut Farmland Trust. And what they do, the Farmland Trust, let me pull that up a little bit here, is they protect our farmland in a bunch of different ways, whether it's we're selling the rights to the farm and keeping the land, which Mayor Murphy did quite successfully, right? Randy? Yes. With a bunch of our farms. And I think we can do more of that. And they talk about ask an expert. So they have experts that we can talk to about everything from protecting farmland to organic farming. So another wonderful resource that I think we could tap into. They also have, if you're interested in a farm, and another thing I like about that is they have a thing called Find a Farmer. It's a clearinghouse for transition between generations of landowners with the goal of keeping farmland in production. There's a new generation of farmers who want to be tomorrow's stewards of the land today, but they need land to work. So maybe we could partner with them about how we go about doing that as well. The next one is the Connecticut Farm Bureau, and they have a Litchfield County branch, and they talk about what the Farm Bureau does is they meet and they talk about legislative priorities as well as advocacy. They also do trainings. This could be another wonderful partnership that we could talk to. They also have Meet the Legislators, and that's for the whole entire county of Litchfield, which I think is important, especially to get state buy-in from our legislators, because they kind of hold some of the keys to the kingdom, whether it's grant opportunities or whether it's legislation that would be very helpful to our farmers. They have, you know, some other things, advocacy-based, and one of the things that I did think that I really liked about them too is they ask our farmers, farm workers, land stewards, urban farmers, aspiring or retired farmers to fill out policy priority surveys so they can see what the farmers really need, so they can help advocate for them. They also have a bunch of discussions that can help out, like for instance, in December, they had seed variety discussions. In January, they did a policy provider priorities. In March, they're doing the Ag Day at the Capitol, and in April, they're going to have a town hall meeting with the Department of Agriculture. So I think that's all wonderful opportunities. There was another one that was not specific to Litchfield County, but I thought it was very interesting, which was Fairfield County Community Foundation. It says, "Hunger Lives Here. A look at food insecurity in Fairfield County," which is just the county below us, which I'm going to give you guys all this stuff so you can take a look at it. It's pretty substantial. It talks about food insecurity and how the more than 1 in 10 families in Fairfield County is a rich county, has food insecurity. I do know, in talking with Angie Chastain, who most of us know heads Carmela's Cupboard, when we first started that many years ago, how that started was that when we went into COVID, we were terrified. The Board of Ed was, and they had to talk to Angie, was how are these kids that their only meal that they get that's a hot meal is in school? How are they going to get that? What can we do? So we partnered, the town, right? We partnered with the Loaves and Fishes, because they started that whole thing with the lunch club, right? And our faith community, and we packed lunches for these kids. And then Angie took it a next step further, and now she's doing wonderful work, as well as all of our other food banks, in providing sustenance and food. And might I add, I'm going to ask Ivana to come at our next meeting. For instance, Sullivan Farm last year was over a ton of food, organic food, that the town provided to our social services, to our food bank. And not only that, a bunch of other farmers don't like their names put out, but they also went down there. And I'd like Ivana to come talk about it. I know Justin, he's down there, he sees that, which they do. So we have the Farm Bureau. We also have the new Connecticut Farm Alliance. And the wonderful things that they do. I mean, I could just keep going on and on about some of the things that we do. Another thing too that I found, I haven't, my apologies, I've had some other things. I'm trying to read as much of this as I can. Planning for Agriculture, a Guide to Connecticut Municipalities. You guys are all going to get this deck in the morning. And this talks about how this is by the American Farmland Trust and the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, CCM, that we're all about. And this talks about how we can plan as a municipality to continue sustainability of our farms. Lastly, Penn State University has a farmland assessment checklist that I'll be pushing out to you guys as well. And it talks about what we need to do. Let me pull that up here. I just add that. So in this checklist, it talks about everything from soil content, soil types, depths of water table, depth of bedrock, flood zones, land suitability and climate, anything from sufficient acreage to land orientation to water and irrigation to infrastructure, equipment and improvements, fencing, equipment. Talk about other infrastructure, whether it be barns, sheds, office equipment, livestock, other considerations, which is ag support services, current tenant relations, easements, neighborhood relations, records, restrictions, and restricted areas. And the reason why I bring all this up, this is a very noble thing that we're looking to do, but I think it's something that we need to really look at. It's very complex. There's a lot of partners that I think that we can not only partner with, but learn from to really make this, if we're gonna go on this endeavor, to really make this a world-class type of thing. So, what I'd like to see is us to continue this conversation, bring some of these stakeholders here, and talk about how, if we're gonna do it, we do it right.
I have a question on that one. So this is all good stuff and I like it. The only thing is that, is there any chance we're gonna get less emotional about the organic stuff? Obviously, nobody wants to drink Monsanto, neither do I. Nobody wants to have the non-organic stuff. That's given, right? Everybody wants to live longer. The only thing is that it's like any business plan. Can we have which direction are we going? Like, because that would make sense, right? Versus we can have a 50 or whatever, 60 presentation, which is cool. Probably we're not gonna have that many, but have kind of a direction. Okay, I would saying that, I don't know, maybe the farm's gonna be one of the selling points for New Milford for the people to come over. So be it. That's the direction we want to take. So be it. But we have to take a direction of what we want to be. Are we going to be a breadbasket now because Ukraine is going down? So New Milford is going to take over? No, right? So what would it be? Basically, we have to find out what exactly we want to do, and based on that, we'll do the research. Who's going to help us out? So we don't have the discussions left and right for half an hour. No, but I'm not a farmer. I have no idea how to farm. I do some tomatoes here and there, but that's not a farming stuff. And I don't want to have it Monsanto all over the places as well. But then we have to have a direction. What do we want to do? Take it from there, basically.
Right. I think to do that properly, we need to really look at a needs assessment. And first and foremost,
Absolutely.
right, the farmer's going to decide. The market for them, they're going to decide what they're going to do for their land, for their business.
Absolutely.
But if you can give them additional tools, right, that's just my opinion, it's better for everybody. But to start off, we need to do our due diligence and figure all of this out. I mean, look at all this stuff. I mean, look at all these resources that are already here, that are available.
So we're not going to be all of them at the same time. It's going to be maybe one or two or three.
Right. But I think we need to bring people in, as I said before,
yes,
that have this expertise, as we do, like when we have the wonderful people over at the ambulance, right? We're using their expertise to tell us we need a manager in the ambulance department. I don't know about a ventilator. I don't know about anything else. I do know if I'm taking a trip, unfortunately, in the ambulance, thank God they're there. Thank God they've got a manager that's going to make sure that, that bus gets there.
That's why we need the pragmatism versus emotions.
Absolutely.
Period.
I mean, the beautiful thing with everything you just read is that, to me, it sounds exactly like this, this presentation that we heard. Not exactly, but it sounds like it's in the same vein. This is really important work, and this is really to benefit all living creatures, right? So to me, it seems like we need an ad hoc committee of some sort in our town to create the path forward. And the question really is, can we save any of the ARPA funding towards that endeavor, right? Is that worthy of doing at this time, to say, $100,000, $150,000, let's get this committee together, let's get a plan, and we don't have to spend all the funds immediately, right? So that's maybe something to think about.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm not convinced we need.
I agree with Hillary. I think we have to talk about setting some of the money aside, because all of a sudden it's going to be gone, and obviously this committee is going to take a little while to get together.
It's not emergency funding.
A lot of information that you put together, but we've got to start to narrow it down. And I agree that we should have an ad hoc committee, and then have this money set aside. Otherwise, it's going to be gone. Something else will come through, and we'll be spending it on something else. But this is a very important project for our town, for our country, for the world. And the world is going to be very hungry in a very short period of time. And we need to do everything we can on our part in the town of New Milford. And it's not an emotional issue. It is a very real, factual issue.
Yeah, when gasoline is going to be for $10 on the gallon, that's going to kill you. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm not convinced we need an ad hoc committee. We have a farmland preservation committee, and these are kind of our experts in the town, and maybe they come up with a subcommittee and help with this other stuff, but I'm not sure another big committee is really an efficient way to do it, but I'm willing to listen to proposals.
Mayor,
Tom?
Mayor, I would agree with Chris. I think between farmland preservation and maybe economic development and some folks from the town council and others at large in the farming community, that would be a good combination to put those folks together. I mean, I support the concepts and what people are talking about. You know, we all know, we've read this for a long time, where our topsoil has gone and all these horrific things. But $150,000 is not going to solve the world's problems here. And, you know, we do have a lot of farmers here. We do have a lot of farmers here in this community that are doing great work. And I think the fact that a lot of these resources are available for education and other grants and things, I think a committee made up of multiple sources like farmland preservation, economic development, and some local farmers would be a very good start here.
And I would also add that I would be against setting aside any money on this today, because I'm not convinced that the effort requires any money to get us to the next step.
I second
So.
I agree with that as well.
I disagree with that, 100%.
Thank you.
You know, we've allocated a lot of money for a lot of other things, and this is a very important issue, and it deserves to have some money allocated for it.
Call state.
I think Councilwoman Thomas has the floor.
Okay, so thank you. So I have to thank Ashley and Joe and the crew that brought this to us, however many meetings ago that was, because look how much information, Mr. Mayor, you went searching for to help us move forward with this. And you've probably just touched what's available, I think. And
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of what has to happen, is that we all need to talk together. And one of the issues I think our beautiful town has is we still struggle with who we are. And I think that we say we want to be a farming community, but we're not necessarily doing all the things we should yet. So this is a great way to move forward in that regard. And I like the concept of putting together groups of people who are already doing things. Some of our boards and commissions are already, but maybe members from different, some of our farm folks, a town council member or two, but put together enough people so that we can make sure our town is doing what we need for our town, not just economically, but also sustainable food sources and clean water. And that was the priority originally when I first started reading their materials, was food that was going to be healthy, food that was going to be grown locally. We were going to help our farmers learn to be better at what they do, not just economically, but for health reasons, and then our water situation. So there's another whole pile probably with regard to healthy water that could be added to the mountain that you already have. And so I would like to suggest that we do consider a committee of people representing the different, as well as community members. And I know Ashley didn't get a chance to finish everything. I would like to hear from her just a few more minutes to hear if she has anything to add to what you said, because I want clarity about what this is about. I think there's a little confusion. It's not just farmer help, it's health, it's water safety, it's providing opportunities for our farmers to get not only educated, but possibly tools to do things better so that they are not destroying the earth. And so I wondered if she had anything left for us resource-wise that she could share this evening, if that would be all right.
What is she talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I've read the plan. I don't need to hear any more from that.
This is not what it's just.
I mean, we just don't add. Call people up to the
It's
stand.
amazing how interesting it is that a lot of folks get to talk ad nauseum, but when we have someone who did the research and may have more and wasn't able to say it all in her 5 minutes, that we can't ask for any additional information now so that we can make a better decision.
No, we've got several presentations
That's
thus far.
I agree. I feel like we should invite Ashley Russo back up. We've done this
Yeah.
many times
Next time,
before.
sure.
We've invited people up who, are experts in their field, and not just public participation, that they can come back up to the council. So what's it going to hurt to give her another 5?
I would do one better. Why don't we just put her on the committee, use her knowledge there to help steer the committee?
I don't think we have a committee, Tom.
If you want to hear, if you want to hear from everybody, put them on the committee and hash it out. I'll say this once again.
Tom, we don't have a committee.
We would all like organic food, healthy water, a good clean earth. I'm with that 1,000,000%. But $150,000 is not going to change that. It's a much bigger investment over time. Excuse me, let me finish.
But maybe that's a
It's a
great
much
question.
bigger investment over time, and I think a lot of our current farmers are making that investment. The fact that I keep hearing, well, maybe we can teach some of these folks more. I'm sure everybody is willing to learn, but I think a lot of folks in the field are starting to realize going organic is actually cheaper. There happens to be a gentleman in the town of New Milford who works for one of the biggest chicken companies in the world, who said to me 2 years ago, my company went all organic. We're charging twice as much, and it's costing us half to make our chickens organic. But it took them a 2 full year cycle to do that. So this is being done around other places. I'm sure some of our local farmers are trying to get organic in some of their areas, but to put out the yield that they may need to supplement with other types of fertilization and old school methods. But I think this is a long-term type of plan. And it's not going to just be solved with a little ARPA fund that's going to help just maybe bankroll a couple of micro farmers. I mean, that's what I feel this is. Where is this $150,000 going to go? If it's just going to go to handle a handful of folks, as the mayor pointed out, a lot of these resources are already available. We have educational resources to do this. There's funds out there. I just think this conversation of let's come up with this last bit of money for ARPA right now is just not appropriate. Let's put together this committee, as many of us agreed in prior statements, and let's just move this thing forward and put Ashley on that committee so she can use her knowledge and try to influence it.
I make a motion to call the question. I have the floor, Mary Jane.
Question on the floor.
I move we call the question. There's either a vote
There's no
or we move on.
There's no motion on the table.
Then let's move on. We have more business to do here.
I agree.
Next item. Okay.
How much money is left? I know I keep asking this question, but how much is actually left now that we've spent $33,000 on addiction services? What's left?
Right now with Mary Jane, with the $9,000 that was just approved,
33. Oh, because of 20.
because we already
Right.
we already did that. Minus 9,000 is $247,196.41.
So we have 247 left.
Yep, 247,196.41.
And what other, are you anticipating many other, entities coming in to, apply for this ARPA funding?
Mary Jane, the only ones that I know about is the Housatonic Valley Association, and they are asking for
3,000.
two different things. One is at $1,500,
3,000.
and the other one's at like $1,556, so it's about $3,100. And then we have EMT ambulance training. And those are that's.
And what is the estimate for that?
I wouldn't know, because that was just brought forward to me as someone made a suggestion, and that'd be something that we talk about. So I don't know. As our ambulance is here tonight, I would ask them once it came up, what are their thoughts about this? Right. So Mary Jane, I really couldn't give you a definitive on that. today about that. I wouldn't even know. I'd have to ask the ambulance guys. This was brought by the public. Similar vein, you know? And that's it.
Well, you know what's going to happen is every meeting we come to, we're going to be asking for this because, you know, if the money starts to disappear, you know, I think you're going to.
Madam John, you have to answer to the vets first before you ask for that. How's that?
Well, maybe they can come in with specific asks in the process. You know, we get this committee going, but this, you know, they can come back and say there's a farmer that actually wants to change their tilling practice, and there's a $9,000 piece of equipment, and this would help them change over.
We already do. He sits on the Farmland and Forest Preservation Committee.
Yeah,
He's
so
gonna try
let's.
to make it tonight, and actually said that this would be very beneficial to them. That the hardest and most difficult
Are we in
part
public
is
comments?
switching to regenerative agriculture.
We're asking the
is,
person who knows.
making the switch.
Let's see if we can get Steve Kleppen
Yeah, so
at the next meeting, or chairman there.
So it's
ask
not
him to
saying,
come in.
we're not denying that anybody can come in with an ask, because we still have this funds left. So
Absolutely.
if a farmer says, oh, I heard that meeting, I want to come and say, I need a tilling machine, it's going to help me go organic, and, you know, then we can vote on that.
Well,
And-
actually, if it's a professional farmer, so that means that they file a Schedule F on their tax
Yeah.
returns. That means they're a farmer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They can apply
Farmers.
for the grant for the business.
But
As
that's
long
only
as they
up to-
see a reduction from COVID from income, they can apply and get a grant.
But that's only up to 5,000. So if the tilling machine is 15,000, right? And they say, you know, they're a big operation in New Milford, and they come forward and say, this would change my farming practice, it would be great. We can vote on that. My point is, I'm just saying, I'm trying to move it forward. There, it sounds like earmarking it is not popular, but I'm just saying we can maybe work together to make some of these things happen with ARPA and immediately, and create the ad hoc committee, and we can make it happen.
Awesome. Okay.
I can work with that.
Next is the Housatonic Valley Association. And they asked for does everybody remember the deck that they gave us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So their ask was two tranches. The first is they call it Priority 1, which is the education and outreach. And they're asking all the other surrounding towns that HVA is involved in. So that's all the way up to, I believe, Canaan.
Canaan, yep.
I believe that's where they're up to. And if each town participated, the New Milford ask would be $1,500. Priority number 2 is the enforcement. That would be all the towns getting together to get a Connecticut Deep Environmental Conservation Officer, giving him weekend overtime. And I can tell you firsthand with COVID, we had a significant amount of people that want to use our wonderful water resources, but unfortunately have no idea how to swim.
Right.
And they're going into our river courses, especially up in the Gaylordsville area, the dam area. And we've had a lot of close calls, and unfortunately, we've had some drownings. Over by the dam, that's the Department of Environmental Protection's territory, so to speak. They're the ones that enforce it. Unfortunately, they have a shortage of manpower. So if we can get some additional weekend overtime, I think that'd be a great opportunity. That's $1,534. So that would be $3,034 for that.
I think we should do it. I'll make a motion to move the $3,034 from the ARPA funds for HVA.
Second.
Priorities 1 and 2.
Could you also put into your motion that this would only be funded if all the other towns agreed with us?
Great point, yes.
I would like to add one other additional prerequisite that.
Caveat?
Yes. She mentioned that these would be DEEP personnel.
Correct.
That it's that. They're not just hiring some part-time, someone from somewhere.
Qualified
Yeah.
DEEP
Yeah.
personnel.
Yep.
Do you accept that?
You want me to say the whole thing over?
No, do you accept in your motion that?
Friendly amendment.
Yes.
And Lily, you accept?
Yes.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second for funding priority 1, priority 2 from Housatonic Valley Association. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay. And then the last was the EMT ambulance training. This was a recommendation by the public. Haven't got any more information. I would maybe ask Donna, Mr. Oxon, maybe another date, and then I could bring it back to the council, kind of what your thoughts are. I know that you've talked to us before, you've offered training before to members, and then what happens is a year later they leave and go for paid service.
We've done EMT classes. In fact, they were talking about doing another one soon. And, you know, it's open to anyone. There is a fee associated because we have to pay some of the instructors, but if they become members of New Milford Ambulance, after a year, they get that money refunded back to them. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm not
So there's the ability, if there are volunteers, that there's the ability that they can get trained.
Right. And it's what already free.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But they're not, nobody's taking up on it.
Are there any incentives for if someone's volunteering in town?
Excuse me?
Are there any incentives for the volunteers if someone wants to be able to?
Yeah, volunteers, sure. We get pension, we get tax abatement, we get,
For the volunteers?
yes.
It's a hell of an incentive if you're 20 years old. Want to do some training?
But it's not.
I mean, you just,
What the hell am I doing with that?
wait. But the thing is, you've got to be a member in good standing, you just can't be a member.
I'll be
You have to
well.
get X amount of points. In other words, you got to attend meetings, go on ambulance calls, etc. It isn't a handout. by no means.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Mr. Mayor, it's just, I think one of the other issues too is that they get this amazing training and then they leave to go get a paying job somewhere.
Absolutely.
Right?
I
Okay.
would say about 90 or over 90%, that's exactly. We just had 2 girls just do that.
So funding the training isn't going to get us more ambulance folks, and that's a shame. It really is a shame. I wish it were different. I would love to say that it would be funded, but I'm not jumping on that until we get a commitment. And you can't get a commitment because lives change too. Right,
that's why we migrated to paid.
I don't,
I would
I'm not
say
jumping on this
everybody
one.
in the past, I'll say 3 years, it's almost been a guarantee. We watch them go through, oh yeah, they want to volunteer. They start out, and as soon as they get themselves a little comfortable, they go to the paid commercial
Right.
service.
A little
and
experience to sell themselves better.
sometimes not even.
I agree.
Okay.
Why can't we have a clawback for 5 years that they would have to pay it back? They can sign an agreement with that.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to collect it.
5 years, Tom?
5 years would be, yeah.
What happened?
Eternity.
Does anybody want the Yukon score?
Well, sure.
91 to 87.
Okay.
Low-paying
Thank
job.
you. All right. I think we've talked about that. For everybody, any other comments on this? Thank you, Donna. Next, update from our finance director. Greg?
Already? Sorry to call you in late.
I think we lost something.
Good evening. The Federal Reserve has begun what is to be an expected series of 25 basis point increases that could amount to a total of 7 during the course of this calendar year. This will certainly affect the town's future borrowing rates as well as our investment rates of return. Inflation is also rearing its ugly head as core CPI is running at 6.6 at an annualized rate. This double phenomenon will not only affect the price of money, but will affect the price of goods being purchased. Consequently, it'll be more expensive to do capital projects as time goes on. The first budget publication is scheduled to be in the Spectrum for April 8th. This will require that the Board of Finance have a public hearing on the 13th and deliberations on the 14th. The second publication would then be published on the 22nd. This will then allow the time for the board to approve the budget and allow adequate time for the town meeting on May 3rd, at which time a date will be set for the referendum. This is all prescribed by charter. Revenues are at 92% of budget. On a straight line basis, we would expect to be at 67%. Tax collections are at 99.4% of budget overall, with current taxes at 99.6%. Both interest income and stiff interest are running at 67% and 34.9% respectively. Most departments are averaging above the straight line calculation with the exception of fire marshal, aging, and the max. The max revenues are offset by the low expenditures in that department as well. Expenditures on a cash basis are at 63% of budget. I see no issues with expenditures at this point in time with the exception of tax rebates and refunds, which are at 88.7% expended as of February. A request from the budget for a budget transfer from the assessor has been approved and executed. Unemployment compensation is running significantly under budget with only 4.6% of budget expended. In summary, on a cash basis, revenues are at $96,733,139.93, and expenditures are at $64,740,886.77, leaving the town with a positive cash flow of $31,992,253.16 for this fiscal year.
Any questions for Greg?
I have a question, Greg. So this rate hike is worries me quite a bit nowadays. And what they're saying actually today, I heard that they're gonna go 50 basis
They
points.
may go 50 basis points.
So many people on Wall Street Journal that I read, CNBC, Financial Times, they're saying in order for them to actually beat the inflation, or at least match the inflation, or the problem that's brewing, we may go to 10%.
I wouldn't say in the short run. That's pretty draconian. I don't
That's
know.
what's happened in the 70s.
I don't know what impact that would certainly have an impact on our economic, on
For our
GDP
town.
overall.
Yeah, for our town, what would that mean basically? We're going from 7% right now to 10. Would that be like?
What do you mean 7%?
Interest rate.
No. Interest rates are
Salary
nowhere
rates
near
like
that.
1%.
No, but there's going to be rate hikes, right? They're saying about
7%.
That's correct, but this is in the federal funds rate. That's the rate that the Fed charges banks for overnight loans.
So that has nothing to do with our ROI. Right?
Well, yes, it does, because,
that's the
yes,
question.
of course it will.
Right.
I mean, everything's interrelated
Right.
in rate hikes. What the Fed does matters.
Right.
So, yes, I mean, obviously, the 10-year and the 20-year Treasury rates, which are pretty much linked to our borrowing rates, will rise consequently. And yeah, the cost of our borrowing will certainly rise over time. Okay. I see this as more a longer-term phenomenon. Short term, I don't expect them to raise interest rates nearly that aggressive initially, because it will have an impact on GDP, no doubt about it.
But our bonding could go up a percent point next year, something like that?
Well, right now, for
More,
example,
1.5.
okay, so our last borrowing that we went for bond was, our true interest cost was 1.6%. I forget who it was. It may have been Newington. Don't quote me on the town, but they just went and they have a AA+ just like we do, and they borrowed for 20 years and they paid 2.6%. So it's already one interest rate, 100 basis points above what we did in our last issuance. So rates are on the move upward. Yeah. If you're a net investor, it's great. If you're a net borrower, not so great. So it will have an impact on the town of New Milford, undoubtedly.
Any other questions for Greg? Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
And lastly, real quick, economic development, a couple quick things. I want to thank the council that with ARPA funding, we were able to use this to become an approved U.S. trustee for Kiva. And we were just approved. And again, for a reminder of the council and for those that are watching, Kiva is a funding mechanism that is for those business owners that couldn't get normal business credit. Whether they have no credit, whether they're just starting out, you go to a small SBA lender or you go to a community bank or you go to a big bank, right? They're going to want to see a great credit score. They're going to want to see history of being in that job, right? Or that business. And they're going to want to see track record. Well, with Kiva, and I think we're the first Kiva approved in the state of Connecticut. I had first found out about this with the U.S. Mayor's Conference. And this is a wonderful opportunity for those who are just starting out. And I'll give you an example. So say you're someone that has been working in the HVAC business, right? And you've been working as a tradesman. And now you're like, you know what? I want to now start my own business. So now I got to get the car. I got to buy the equipment, the truck. And you know what? I don't have the track record. So guess what? Community bank's not going to give you the money. Big bank's not going to give you the money. But through Kiva, you can do a little crowdfunding, and then the sponsorships that they get, you'll actually be able to get that money. And then you'll start it. And then once you grow your business, let's say 2 years from now, your business is really growing, gangbusters. Now we can turn you over to a small business bank, right? And you can continue to propel yourself. 80% of Kiva's loans go to women businesses. And for most of us know, especially women minority businesses, it's a struggle for them to get credit. It's a struggle for them to get capital. So this is kind of the beginning one phase that we have. So I'm very excited that we were approved to do that, and I'll be giving more information to the council as we move forward. Spoke to Bill from our building inspector. So last week, we still busy. 55 new applications came in. They did 73 inspections and they issued 77 permits. Real quick things as well. We have another new business, Blue on Bank, that opened up. That's that charcuterie.
Yeah,
mispronouncing that, right?
Yeah.
But wonderful business. 1820, which is my old former store. That's going to be opening up. We're seeing more businesses coming into New Milford, so we're excited about that. And also, lastly, the Chamber of Commerce, for those that are Chamber of Commerce members, they're having their scholarship application for this year. And those are for, they're $1,000 scholarships for the 2022 graduating high school seniors. Please go to the Chamber website if you'd like to pick up an application and download this. You must have some kind of connection with the Chamber. And the applicants must have done some community service and school involvement. So that's what I got. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you, everybody.